This is a regular meeting of the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission. Tonight is September 1st, 2015. We will stand with me to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Staff, roll call, please.
Andy Guibert.
Here.
Eric Redsaw.
Here.
Pat Garrett. David Benares.
Here.
Ernest Franco.
Here.
Thank you. We have a call.
Okay. Next section here is public comment. Anyone who would like to speak to the commission on an item that is not on the agenda, such as telling us how good a job we're doing, be free to come up and do it now. If what you want to say is tied to an agenda item, I would ask you to wait until that item comes up, and that way all the information will be kept together, especially when people are looking at it on streaming video. So, do we have anybody signed up to speak?
No, I have no speaker cards.
We have no speaker cards, okay. The next one is informal project review. Staff, do we have any?
None, Mr. Chair.
Okay, this would have been the section when somebody has an idea, and before they go into putting big bucks into their engineering and architecture, can come in and say, hey, Planning Commission, we'd like to do this in San Juan Bautista. And as long as you don't laugh, they can come back. But they will save them a lot of time, energy, and money in not coming up with a design that wouldn't have made first base here to begin with. Okay, the next one is the consent agenda. We have the approval of the affidavit of posting of the agenda, approval of minutes of June 2, and approval of minutes for July 7.
Mr. Chair, I believe on item 4A there's an item that is missing that we should add to the discussion items.
Okay. Want to tell us about it?
Yes, this would be a discussion regarding Harvey's lockup, and it has been on a discussion item and should at the very least be a discussion item tonight. Should have been a discussion item for tonight.
Okay.
So that would be item, where you
Under 4A, the affidavit of posting of the agenda.
Well, if we're doing that here, then I would like to add continued discussion of the historic San Juan Bautista streetscape, because that was to be continued this week.
Okay, the key thing on something like this is that it came up after the agenda was posted, and if both of them were missing,
They were missing.
then you would have the right to move to put it on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
We'll need a second. We need a vote on that too?
It has to be the consensus. Everybody has to be in agreement.
Consensus, okay. Anybody objecting to this?
No.
Okay. We'll add two items to it under the 4A. Oh, no, it'll be, let's see, under discussion, it'll be 6E, and yours is first, Harvey's Locker.
The historic downtown streetscape.
Harvey's Locker.
So E is Harvey's?
Yeah, and then 6F would be the downtown. What do you want to call that again?
Streetscape.
Downtown streetscape. Okay, those two items will come up under 6E and 6F. Okay.
I would like to take items B and C separately.
Yes.
Okay. So item 4B, minutes for June 2.
On page 3, top of the page, it was the consensus of the commission to direct staff to ask the city attorney for an opinion.
Oh,
Okay. And down in the middle of the page, B, 3rd Street Design Charrette, Charette. It may appear to be a charade, but... Are we, okay, is there anything else for B?
Yeah, I have one additional on page 2, first paragraph, about 2/3 of the way down, starting the sentence Gretasoff. It says, Commissioner Gretasoff was disappointed the house was demolished over coming to the planning. It should be have come without having come to
Yes.
the planning commission. So coming should be come.
come to the planning commission. Okay.
Which side? Page 2?
Page 2, first paragraph, about 1/3 of the way down, the first word in the sentence is Gretasoff.
Okay.
And at the third from the end, coming should become.
And then moving on to C.
Well,
Oh,
there's also, I'm sorry, where it says that Commissioner Guber commented that the house on the property that was demolished is in disrepair, or just is in disrepair? You got two words, was and is. should be
home that
together.
was on the property and was demolished.
Is in disrepair.
I'm sorry, where's that?
It's, where it says Commissioner Guber commented that the house on the property.
4 lines up.
That was demolished was in disrepair, or is in disrepair.
Was on there, was listed as simply identified but not.
It's got two words, there was
Oh,
and is.
okay.
You only need
It was
one.
demolished, well, yes, you're right.
So how do you want to write it? Is listed and,
I don't know, Commissioner Guber should.
I
Well,
think
by-
it was-
At that point,
was
it was
because it was
yeah.
was.
By that point, it
okay,
was.
read it as you want it to say.
Commissioner Guber commented that the house on the property that was demolished was, or had been, because it, or just was.
That was demolished,
Was
had
in-
been,
Had been is most appropriate.
okay. Are there any other? Okay, that was 4B. And 4C would be the minutes of July 7, 2015.
Okay, on page 2, on the first paragraph, middle of the sentence, well, beginning of the sentence, Commissioner Guber asked for clarification on several of the conditions of approval and commented she could not make a decision on the colors. More important than the colors was she stated she wanted to approve the project as a whole, not 3 out of 4 houses.
She, spell it out.
She stated she wanted to approve the project as a whole.
She wanted to consider the project as a whole. A whole. And not piecemeal.
Yeah. And then one other thing on page 1, the house at 103 The Alameda, is that in the commercial or the mixed-use district?
Mixed use.
Mixed use.
Okay, then we need to change that because it says commercial. So, back
Okay.
on page 1, under public comment,
Public comment.
line 3, well, the third line, the property is zoned, it says commercial, but it should be mixed use.
Is that quoting it as I heard?
Oh, okay. You know, but I thought I heard mixed use, which is why I looked at
I know
it.
it is mixed use, but I
Okay,
put it in there. A little less.
I have one.
I'm done, okay.
I have one more correction just to make
Page.
that we're accurate on it. Page 3, number C. It says, City Manager Grimsley provided a report. Chairman Franco called for a revocation hearing at the September 1 meeting if they do not hear from the property owner. More accurately, it should read, Chairman Franco called for city staff to have the city attorney write a letter to Harvey's lockup regarding a revocation hearing on September 1st.
That's true.
Okay, you want to go over that again? Chairman Franklin called.
Yeah, I can do that. It says Chairman Franco called for city staff to have the city attorney write a letter to Harvey's lockup regarding a revocation hearing on September 1st.
Okay. Any other changes, corrections, omissions, or whatever?
Nope.
Does anyone in the public would like to comment on the minutes? There being no public comments, the chair calls for a motion for action.
I move that we approve all 3 consent items.
With the exception of making recommendations to change certain items.
Exactly.
Okay, 72. Okay,
A second?
call for a vote. Lost one.
All right. Commissioner Franco?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Present. Commissioner DeBeers?
Aye.
Commissioner Gredstoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
All members of the board being, the commission being present, except Commissioner Garrett. The motion is stated by the table to pass 4-0-1-0.
Okay, the next item is there's two of them, action items. A, consider a lot line adjustment for 415 7th Street. The applicant is Al Valles. B, consider site and design review for 415 7th Street. Applicant Al Valles. State of California has determined that because I live 140 feet from the project that I have a conflict of interest, so I must vacate my seat. I will be in the office. Is the office on?
Yes.
Okay. Working on Sudoku puzzles.
No cheating.
Vice Chairman, it's your meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'll just, yeah.
Just in case.
I don't think
Just in case.
I can throw this?
If
No.
anybody gets rowdy.
Okay, that being said, thank you, Ernest. We'll see you later.
I'll be around.
As soon as the doors close, we can proceed.
Now.
Okay. Okay, action item number 5, A, consider a lot adjustment for 415 7th Street, applicant Al Valles. Consider resolution 2015 whatever that's going to be, adopting a categorical exemption under section 15305 of the CEQA. And item 2 for section A, consider resolution 215 whatever that's going to be, approving a lot line adjustment. Staff, do you have a report on that?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. As you recall, the co-applicant of this is still the property owner. Mr. Al Valles has got the property in escrow and is willing to purchase it. Back in 2006, Mr. Todd Dubois proceeded to the Planning Commission and had 4 lots declared with a certificate of compliance of 4 lots. 2 of those lots were bordering the state highway and were substandard. And after the Planning Commission approved the certificate of compliance, creating the 4 lots from an old subdivision of the Ramona Heights, then the applicant asked for a lot line adjustment, and he adjusted those lots into 4 lots. And in the exhibits that I have, the lots before was what the Planning Commission approved back in 2006. And that was 2 lots in the rear with a 15-foot access leading from 7th Street, and then 2 lots fronting on 7th Street. Approximately each lot was 4,000 square feet, and the exact square footage I have on the exhibits. Mr. Al Valles, in purchasing the property, discovered that the arrangement and size of the lots didn't fit with what he was proposing, more of a conventional 2-story, 2-car garage, 2-story type structures in that area, and with the normal setbacks, 5 foot on each side and 20 foot in the front. Garage would be 25. So he's asked for a lot line adjustment that will reflect the setbacks of the current proposal. And that is on the second page of the lot line. You'll see there that we have, after the lot line adjustment, those lots will be the size that he's created. And on the second page of the site and architectural, you'll see the layouts of those buildings. So the lot line adjustment is really an adjustment of those 4 lots that were previously adjusted back in 2006.
And it's pretty much just for the purposes of the second stories?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes. Okay. Now, the site is a difficult site. It slopes from the state highway to 7th Street, and it's approximately 18 and a half to 20 feet in difference in elevation from the state highway down to 7th Street. And so it's going to take a substantial amount of grading and retaining walls to achieve the objective of what Mr. Vias and the previous owner, Mr. Tugad, wanted to facilitate in construction.
On these two pages, the before and the after, I see an E garage for, I guess, these two structures, but I don't see the same on the other side.
Should be the same because
Both buildings are basically identical?
identical. One's flipped to the one side and the other's flipped to the other side. And the garage is on the north side on lot 29, and on 28, the garage would be on the south side.
Well, there's garage here, there's garage here.
Yeah, right. It's kind of
Well,
a,
what's
On the
this?
west side? On the
There's-
right side.
yeah.
Is that what you're concerned?
Well, yeah, but here it says garage,
Oh.
but I only see
Oh,
one.
you're saying about the E-garage, it's off to the left side? of
Yeah.
the-
So where's the same garage on the other side?
No.
It's just not labeled. It
okay.
is the same, yeah. There's a single car garage
So it would
on
be over
lot
here.
29 on the north side.
Okay.
And on lot 28, the single car garage, the E-garage, is on the
Left
south side, which would be the left side as you face it.
Yeah, but you're asking about this garage right here?
Well, I see one, but I didn't see another one.
This-
On
what
what,
garage
on
was
what
the
lot are you
garage?
on?
What is this?
On what lot are you on?
Right there.
Oh, on the
This is
26,
question
28?
10 right there.
Oh, that has nothing to do with it. That's the neighborhood. That's Cesar Flores, who's in the audience. That's his existing garage,
Oh,
and that's
oh,
off the
okay,
property.
so there's no,
It just happens to be right on the property line,
Okay.
and that was a dispute between the previous owner and the lot there and then they cut the eaves off and then made it legal and then put some sheetrock up, and so that's the existing garage that is.
oh, so E is existing, or?
Yeah, that's an
okay.
existing garage, yes.
Any other questions from the commission?
So back in 2006, this was approved for roughly 4,000, give or take, square foot lots.
Yes, and you'll see in the previous, I had the lot line adjustment that was approved back in 2006, and that was the 4 lots before the adjustment.
Originally, those two lots that are different are the 4,409 square feet.
That is
And the
correct.
4,305 square feet.
That's-
That's been changed.
Yes.
And the angle's been taken off and cut off, so to speak, and made into a rectangle.
I guess my concern is we just went through a lot of work to get a 5,000 square down to 5,000 and no smaller. I mean, I know this has already been approved and has 4,000 square foot lots, but one of the things that we were pretty clear on in that new ordinance that I think is currently past the first reading and going on to the second reading of the city council is no 2-story homes on the 5,000 square foot lots. And so my concern would be is that their proposal is to build
4 2-story houses.
4 2-story homes on 4,000 square foot lots in an R1 zone.
That is correct.
And
Yeah.
the neighboring homes are 1 story, so the scale is
So
not
this would indeed
proportional.
be an exception. This would indeed be an exception. There's no question about that.
Well, regarding the size of the property, that's
Yeah.
certainly true. And is there precedence for that? I mean, I know the 2 down at the end of 4th Street are just over 4,000 apiece.
And they're single story.
And
Yeah.
are they single story? Okay.
Yeah.
So in regards to, this one specific is in regards to the lot line adjustment. I'm just concerned because packaged in that, it's calling out for 2-story residential homes. You're going to have packed
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
And if you apply a straight mathematical interpretation of a 4,100 square foot lot and a 40%, then that single story or the single level would be right about 1,600 square feet.
Okay. What about fire department concerns? Do they have a concern given how long that driveway is, and is there room enough for them to turn around in the end?
Those are the conditions of approval that were established previously, and each house will be fire sprinkled, and the fire hydrant will be extended, the fire line up to the two homes there, and a fire hydrant will be set at the rear two lots. There'll be also a fire hydrant on 7th Street.
The conditions of approval of the lot line adjustment done in 2006, if we approve the lot line adjustment now, does that mean that all those conditions carry?
And the conditions of approval, I've pretty much mirrored those in my report on the site and design review. Now, the reason that I don't do it on the lot line adjustment is there's a state law that says that it precludes the planning commission from putting conditions on a lot line adjustment other than access, lot size, utilities. Those are the parameters that the subdivision map act says that a lot line has to evaluate. But you will put curb and gutter in, you'll do this, you'll do that, you'll grade. You can't put those conditions on there that would mitigate that. But you can do it on the site design review. So the site design review and the lot line adjustment go hand in hand.
These elevations of parcels 1 and 2 and 8 and 9 don't indicate the square footage of the buildings. Do we know what that would be?
See here.
On all of them?
I think we need to know what size house we're talking about.
I thought it was on there, in one of the
Is the applicant here tonight?
I don't think so.
I don't know if the applicant.
Gonzalez?
I don't see it. So I mean, I drove by it briefly, and the other homes in the area are single story.
On 7th Street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh, not all of 7th Street.
Not all of 7th Street,
No,
in
no,
that
no.
immediate area.
Talking the immediate
It's
area.
mixed. It's mixed. There's a lot of double story or 2 stories along with single stories.
Yeah, but around that
But in
particular
area,
site.
there's more of single story.
Let's see, lots, the two on the 7th Street side are 2164 square feet,
Parcels 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
2164.
And how about 8 and 9?
All right, let me,
They would be both the same, wouldn't they?
yeah.
Oh, they're
They're all
all-
the same. They're all the
the-
same.
All 4?
No, the two down below are 2164.
No, I know that.
And the two up above are 1484.
But
14
they're
even.
identical to
Each other.
Each other,
the
yeah.
two
Right.
smaller
Two in the
ones
back
below,
are identical, just flipped,
Yeah, just flipped.
So you said 1,400?
1484.
84.
1,400 square foot, 2-story? 1484?
Sorry about that, I thought I had them down, and I thought I put that in the staff report.
Okay, so, any other questions from the commission before we go to the public? Does the public have any comments on these units?
William Kuzia?
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. I am not in the neighborhood. I'm not terribly worried about the project, although you are making some really good points about the size of those houses. The ones over here on, what is that, Monterey Street? Yeah. Those two small houses on the two small lots work wonderfully. Large houses on small lots, not so much. You are taking away the idea of using smaller lots for lower income housing and all of that sort of thing. But the reason I wanted to speak is something that I'm not sure that this body has jurisdiction over, but Roger is well aware that the work done on that project originally was never paid for. And I have a big problem with going forward with it until all of that is worked out. In fact, I don't see why we should have to stick to the original plan, since the owner of that property never paid for all of the work that was done, and the city was out a lot of money to pay our planner that we had at that time, to pay for all the work that was done to figure it out. And this was, you know, before Roger's time, where I'm sure it wouldn't have come down like this, but at the time it was very expensive to do the original plan for that lot, and I do not want to see anything go forward on that property until it is fully paid for by either the previous owner or the new owner.
Thank you. I don't know how these things happen.
I'm Donna Holmes. I live at 501 7th Street, right next door to 415. We've lived there 36 years. The first 20 years we lived there, we dealt with a rundown house and a huge mess. The lot was sold. We thought it would be a good thing because the house had, we thought it would be a good thing because the house and outbuildings would be gone. They were torn down and one of the redwood trees was removed. It's been a few years and not much has been done on the property. Now I understand there is a proposal to add 4 two-story houses on this piece of land. This will certainly not be compatible with the surrounding homes and properties. It will be a mini subdivision, and I think it will negatively impact 7th Street. What happens to the redwood trees? The configuration of the lot slopes upward, and if the upward slope is from the street, as do all the lots on 7th Street. We took 14 dump truck loads of dirt out of our lot just to make it livable so we could use our yard. How is the land going to be used in the back of the lot? Is there going to be truckloads taken out so that the lot can be made level? And what kind of retaining wall will have to be put up to hold the freeway and the land back? What about the privacy of lots on either side of the proposed development? The second floor will overlook our yards and houses. Goodbye privacy. 4 single-story houses would be bad enough, but not 4 two-story houses. What about water? What about a driveway? Will the driveway be going up the middle of the property and then have driveways for each house? The housing density of the proposal just seems wrong for this area. The lot split in 2 with a house on each section would make much more sense and it would fit. Not a lot with 4 houses in such an area, 7th Street, where most of us have deep and wide lots that have been taken great care of and that we enjoy. I can't imagine anyone wanting to buy a house crammed together as in this proposal in a neighborhood that does not have even close to this configuration. Commission members, please consider the residents of 7th Street and the impact this proposal will have on all of us, affecting traffic flow, parking, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Jolene, too, as well. I'd be able to say that. Thank you for your input. Any other comments?
Yes, I have Cesar Flores.
Good evening. I'm Cesar Flores. I'm the other neighbor. I live at 497th Street. And everything that Donna says is exactly what I wanted to say, but there's a couple of things just added. I recently moved back to San Juan after being in Hofstra for about 28 years. And I came here originally with Teatro Campesino, so this is my home. I raised my kids here. You know, I come back, get a little place. Next thing I know, there's this building going next up to them. They're going to be looking right down at me, no privacy whatsoever. Not even including that wiping out half of my view, you know, from my backyard. And again, we took 12 truckloads of dirt out of my backyard, and we used his property, unfortunately, because that's the only access I have, just to make a patio. So if they're going to build houses over there, you know, in that rear lot, I don't know how the heck they're going to do it. It's going to be an impact. It's going to have to be retaining walls between my property and their properties, you know, because anyway, it doesn't fit in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Ferreira.
Good evening, everyone. I've been before you the last couple weeks because of another project on 7th Street. And as you're hearing tonight, one of my concerns on that project is the hill and the retaining walls. But add to that now the issue of the skyline of San Juan as people are driving past on 156 behind this parcel, and it's flat, 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 and boom, up pop, two-story houses. It would look kind of silly, I think. And I'm certain, just as was included in the provisions for the development of the parcel next to line, that they're going to be required to put a sound wall behind these 4 houses. And I just think it's going to look ridiculous from the highway to have these two on those upper lots, if they're 2-story buildings. It wouldn't look very fanciful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's
We have
another
another one. Georgiana?
in the back row.
Oh, that's right.
Georgiana Gallardi, 2nd Street. Historically, I'm trying to remember why the project didn't go through in the first place. And as I recall, and I don't know if it's part of the design review, Section B or Section A of this action item, these 2 action items, so I might be out of place and we should be speaking at the next item. The applicant at that time did not plan to put all of the underground in, all of the facilities and the plumbing and curbs and gutters, and I think of the whole thing that were required, and he only planned to do it for half. And that was not something that the people in San Juan wanted, because what would happen to the other half of the property? So I think condition number 12 talks about PG&E for only the 2 lots. Maybe that's only relevant to the 2 lots, but it triggered my memory of what had happened before. And since I know that the Planning Commission is now aiming towards seeing the whole picture before making any decisions, I think that ought to be discussed. Thank you.
That's my recollection too, Georgiana, that it was not presented as a complete project, or there was some incomplete portion to it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question, just a question.
Yeah.
Is there no requirement that the property owners be notified in any kind of way that this kind of project is going on?
Didn't we send out that notice?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Mhm. Did you get
Did
it?
you receive it?
Is it like a door-to-door thing we're talking about here?
No, in the mailbox, in the mail.
Okay.
Everybody within, I think,
Can
3.
be before the meeting.
Well, did Mr. Ferrera, did Ms. Holmes, did you get a,
No, we didn't get notice. I didn't get notice.
okay,
I didn't get notice.
okay.
For a lot line split, you don't
got
have
an
to,
electronic.
right?
There's too much
Yeah,
wrong
no,
with this.
on the lot line
I'd
adjustment, you
like to
don't have to,
give
but on the
comments
site and
and-
design, it went out. I had, 15 and 16? Uh-huh, yeah. Mm-hmm,
I have to look back. If I didn't,
mm-hmm. Yeah, we got,
how we discussed that project, I'm just trying to think back.
yeah, I remember.
The resolutions
Mhm,
are for a lot line adjustment
mhm.
and a categorical
Exemption?
exemption.
Yep.
It's not for site and design at this point. You told me it would have been too late.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh,
But,
if it's on the agenda, we did not send it out, we were going to push that
Oh,
over to
you-
another meeting.
oh, you didn't send them out, oh, okay.
We didn't do that.
Because I identified
That would be-
every property owner, and then I thought they were going to go out as a
Exactly.
courtesy, because I know that we could not hold a meeting. It was supposed to go out as a courtesy, because we know we're going to continue the site and architectural. We wanted input and stuff like that.
What
So-
about the
so-
physical posting on street lights or street lamps?
No, that didn't happen.
Door-to-door or
We
whatever.
were
I
required
mean, there's
to
still
put it
some hanging
on the
in
property.
my neighborhood. There's one about, I
The
guess,
Ambrosio, it's across, yeah. it's
yeah,
still
and
the
then
Ambrosio.
there's one on First Street too, still.
Well, I think what I wanted to relay to you is the site and design review cannot go forward to the commission. I wanted the dialogue there, but you can't take action on that because it was not publicized
Okay.
as a public
Okay.
hearing. We missed the deadline by a day, and so in that way there. But I wanted those notices to go out as a courtesy to let everybody come in and talk about it and everything. And that we were going to schedule it for the next meeting as a public hearing.
Okay.
For there. Now, the lot line adjustment doesn't require a public hearing in a sense and notification, but it's always good to err on the side of caution, and we will, if you want to continue both of them, then we'll bring them back as public hearings.
Go ahead.
You had something to say, so.
Yeah, I mean,
First of all, is there any more public comments? Are we done? Questions? Any more questions? Okay, go ahead.
so let's, originally, how many homes were on, was this one gigantic lot, one 20,000 square foot lot before?
It
or-
was-
No. To go back into 2006 and prior is that when the Ramona Heights subdivision went, it went all the way across where the highway exists. When the state highway came in, 1955, it cut all of those lots in half. And what happened is that there was a small piece of both lots of Ramona Heights in the back up there, and those were legal lots. And then there's the two lots at front on 7th Street. The owner at that time, with their planning director, says, let's certify those and go through a certificate of compliance and make them legal lots, because they were legal lots on the old Ramona Heights at the turn of the century. Bingo. When they made them legal lots by a certificate of compliance, then they asked for a lot line adjustment and says, now I want to move those into 4 lots of approximately 4,000 square feet.
So
That's the sequence of how it was created, 4 lots.
it was 4 lots, and then it got readjusted into 4 different size on the lot line
Yeah.
adjustment for now.
Yeah. Now, the fallacy is that when you do a certificate of compliance, the certificate of compliance just says, does that lot, can it be built upon? And obviously, the answer at that time was no, it couldn't. But the commission at that time approved it, and so they made them legal. And they were recorded legal.
And where we are
So,
today.
yeah, and that's where you're at
So,
today.
yeah, I
So
guess kind of my point is had this kind of come up today, I
probably
can't
wouldn't-
imagine we would approve
it-
4,000
No, it
square
wouldn't
foot lots.
survive the test of a certificate of compliance.
Right. So our hand is kind of forced. These are already official.
They're already
We
existing.
can't force the issue to make them
After
We
the-
can ask pretty please, but we
After the
can't
planning
force it.
commission approved the lot line adjustment back in 2006, then the applicant went and filed the records with that, and now they're on record as those are the 4 legal lots. And what the new applicant is requesting is, he felt that there was, the two lots down below were 43 or 42, and the back ones was 4,000, and he wanted to equalize them more in the 42 to 41 and balance them off. And you'll see before and after, it was trying to balance them off. It's just a slight technicality, but to just make it a little bit more amenable for development.
How,
Go ahead, continue.
no, I don't want to hog it all here. How, Jolene had mentioned that the city was out quite a bit of funds.
Yeah. and-
How does that play into this whole thing?
Yeah.
Was there a lien done, and
No,
how
it was
does,
not a lien gun, but then the applicant has agreed to pay all fees due the city.
how much does that total, give or take?
There was a $12,706 back fee for planning, and then the current fees would be all the application fees, connection fees, impact fees. I think
Does that- is that-
they total about $33,000 a lot.
Okay, so the concern about the money that we were out,
Yeah.
it's getting paid.
Regardless.
Is it too much to ask we're getting paid with interest, or we're just being paid?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. What was my other question? The engineering, although you had said earlier that the gradient difference was 18 to 20 feet? That sounds like a gigantic engineering feat, especially with a big highway there. That's all on the developer, though, to make that happen and happen
Right.
properly.
And I think John brought up a good point there, where the 2 stories were not going to be propped up above. They're going to be excavated down, because the maximum slope of the 15-foot wide lane that goes up to the 2, I said I don't want it to exceed 12%. So as
Okay.
12% from 7th Street goes up, those lots are going to be lowered, so that the top of the roof line will be below the sound wall.
Okay. I mean, taken just on face value, the lot line, given the fact we can't do anything about the size, I don't have a big issue with that. My big issue is 4 two-story
Two-story,
homes,
yeah.
even partially subterranean, just seems like a lot of homes in a tight little.
Yeah. They
I mean,
seem-
it's a 20,000 square foot lot, but you pack 4 homes on that, and all of a sudden you're.
Seems like McMansions.
Right.
And they're not compatible with the area. What about doing grannies in the back? We've talked about granny. That's,
The maximum square footage is 600 square feet.
I mean, we need to provide more affordable housing. I don't think this plan does.
Well, and the commission could send it back to the developer and says, get together and design some single story and see what your site layout.
I'd be
In the terms of the building permit, we have to accept what he submits and make it sure that it complies, the ordinance and everything. And the maximum site coverage can't exceed 50%, as you know. And the new ordinance on 5,000, I jumped it up to 53%, So if we take that and just says, okay, the maximum site coverage at 50% and at 4,000, then you could probably put somewhere right around the 1,900 square foot to 2,000. And it can be done, with the setbacks.
Yeah, I'm just
And-
really concerned.
I'm
I mean,
not-
even subterranean, that just
Yeah.
still seems like
Yeah,
such
especially
a.
around here.
Yeah.
I'm not inclined to try to match the sizing up either, because that'd be, if you have 4 2-stories on same size lots, it's just,
And so if you feel appropriate, it just says, let's continue this, send it back to the developer with the instructions of how you feel, and then have him take a look at it and see.
But our decision today was to determine whether the lot line was to be adjusted. Not so much as what's being developed on the property.
Right, but the
Well,
purpose
no,
of the lot line is to
so-
have the two-story houses.
No, that's not. we're
That's
not
what,
agreeing to
that's
that
what
one
Roger
yet.
said.
If you took and adjusted the lot line adjustment tonight and equalized them and still go back and just says we want single stories, it would make it more developable because they're more equal in size, 41 to 42. The old one was 4,043, you see.
Yeah,
So-
but we've been
so-
talking about variety,
Variety,
and here
yeah.
we're countering that. So I'm not keen on making them all the same size,
Yeah.
and I'm not keen on making them as maximum on the property.
Here would be just follow this in a more general pattern. If we, I mean, again, aside from whatever the B item is, which is the site design review, just going off lot lines, what I don't want to do is get into a situation where we say, yeah, go ahead and make your lot line adjustments, but send it back to him and say, but do something else, and he comes up with, okay, well, here's something else, but now I need another lot line adjustment. I would rather send the whole thing back and say, we're not really keen on
2 stories.
on the 2 stories, and
Come
if
back
that,
with a different
come
plan.
back
Yeah.
with a different
And-
plan.
and we'll
Lot
consider
lines
whether
look
we
like
need a-
that.
Yeah.
Because you're right, he may want to adjust the lot lines again.
He may want to push the road off to one
To
side,
accommodate
and,
anything that's single story.
right.
That's a good point.
Which we prefer.
And I think I would highly recommend
No.
that this be, if nothing else, informally reviewed by the fire department, given that the long driveway before it comes to us. I would love to see what that opinion is before this thing came to us. And that, to be honest, is doing a courtesy to the developer so that he doesn't have to make yet another monthly trip when we tell him next time, go get to the opinion. I mean, I think what he needs to do is
City
come up
needs
with
to-
something.
City needs to address that and bring that forward.
I agree.
Bear in mind, I know I worked on Caesar's house there, and then next door is a single story. The lot right next to the 2 doors down from Caesar is a narrow lot, goes all the way to the state highway, and it's steep like that. And I've had developers look at that where they're going to go in and put a garage and then have the thing, and it's going to be a 2-story, and it's going to be very similar to the house on its left-hand side is a 2-story, because that's the only way that feasibly you could do that. If you tried to develop that lot as a single story, you would have cuts of 20 feet in height, just, I mean, enormous. And it
Right.
would be there. And so you have to design to the terrain. And that's what I'm saying is conventionally when you have difficult lots like that, is that you'll pull in and put a garage and then have a half step and then go up, and then the housing will be above the garage, and then
But these properties, these three properties that we've heard about tonight, they go from 7th Street to the highway. So
Yeah,
aren't we talking
right,
about the
yeah.
same depth all the way? Okay.
And like Donna said, there was a lot of fill brought out of those that facilitated that, yeah.
Okay, does the city have any further explanation to any of the public comments?
No?
Any response to that?
I want to add
Alden?
a couple,
Oh, it's got comments.
on conditions of approval, on both the site and design review project and the resolution that follows it. The first item says the applicant shall submit final building plans to the building department conforming to the city, blah, blah, blah. I think it has to come to planning as well, because we're required to do site and design review as well.
No, but that goes back is that when he makes the application to you, the site design will come to you. Once you
Okay.
approve it, then the next stop is the
Okay.
building department.
Because I want to be sure that we see all new construction.
Yeah, no, you will get the application through a site design review.
Okay.
All right. This is, after you approve it, then his next stop is to the building department and the fire department and doing all the necessary things to make it happen.
And geologically, is it likely that that is possible? Would it be approved? I mean, in terms of engineering?
Yeah, it's not in a seismic zone, and the soils report indicates that the soils are compatible with what they're proposing to do. Pending, mitigation like retaining walls and excavation and stuff.
So, anything else? So our consensus right now is that we're not satisfied with this particular resolution, the way it's set up. And that we want to, based on what we've heard from the public, in general, what we believe that we need to bring this back to another meeting, put that on the agenda with a revised approach, trying to bring it down to single-story units and see what the lot lines would look, alignments would look at that time.
I don't have as big an issue with a garage or even some sort of like subterranean, for lack of a better term, a subterranean area with something on top. I think it would be odd to have it all at grade and everything above, so I kind of get that. Yeah, I agree. I think they need to get a little bit more creative with the solution, so that it's not as
be more compatible with the
surrounding.
the existing area.
with the landscape,
Which are basically
keeping-
single-family units with single-story.
taking into consideration privacy factors of the surrounding neighbors. Yeah,
And also with some emphasis on low income.
that would be a
Because
suggestion.
of the size of the lots.
Right.
I mean, would there be anything, would there be anything that I look at these, and if these were mine, there's one of two approaches I would look at. It's, I can put on 4 homes and sell 4 homes. The other approach might be, I could maybe rearrange this into 2 or 3 parcels and make a more comfortable living. I mean, affordable housing is,
I mean,
yeah.
the owner of the property is not stuck with 4 parcels. They can change that.
Yeah, they want to change that.
They can record and
Okay.
change that. So,
So
anyway, that's the consensus of the commission today on action items A and B.
Send it back to the,
Send it back to the developer, asking them, based on the opinions of the commission and the public, where can we go with this in a different direction? And they might want to talk to some of the people in the neighborhood to see where we can go with that. And some of the problems that they have in excavating their properties.
so noted.
Okay. That being said, this item is closed until next meeting.
I appreciated hearing from the public because we got different
Yeah.
perspectives. Everybody brought a different point, which was helpful.
Yep, thank you.
So we can bring back Ernest?
When he gets to a breaking point in his...
He may not have finished his game
When
yet.
he gets to a breaking point in his game, we don't want to interrupt his,
Please.
if you could, please.
Oh, I think Jolene's going to go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
People
Appreciate
say
it.
we don't listen, but we do.
One thing we didn't mention was parking.
Oh, good question. Well, that's something we need to
Yep.
talk more about.
Thank you.
All right? No. just
No.
kidding.
Eddie's.
I know. Boy, did you miss a good one.
I'll tell you, it was the state of California that said so, not me. I'd be here in the thick of it.
You can catch it up on the CMAP. It's going to be awesome.
Okay. I won't ask what happened, so we'll just keep going to the next 2 items. What time did I get back here? Okay, then item 5C is consider resolution 2015-XX, finding the request for outside water service and an irrevocable offer to annex assessors parcel 012-160-010 consisting of a 7.765 acre parcel statutorily exempt under CEQA section 15268B4. Staff, can you translate for us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the applicant has got a 7.75 acre parcel that lies in the county. It's within our sphere of influence, and it's within Zone 6 of our ability to provide water. They've proceeded to the county to get site design review to build a home on there. They came to the city and rather than drilling a well, they asked, could the city serve the thing? And we approached the city council. We have water mains in the area. It can be extended. It's in Zone 6. It's in our sphere of influence. The city council accepted the petition to serve it outside, pending an agreement that they would enter into an irrevocable offer to annex the property when the boundaries are adjacent to it. Unfortunately, when we approved that for the city council, we didn't take care of the CEQA. In the development of Rudy and I of submitting the applications to LAFCO, because the petition that was approved by council was subject to LAFCO approval. And now the application has to go to LAFCO. LAFCO requires some sort of determination of environmental clearance. Tonight I'm asking you to take a look at what the council did, the agreement, and approve the resolution that categorizes the application as a categorically exempt under section 15268. And I think it's typed, 15268, subsection B and 4.
I wanted to clarify the location of this property. It says it's 1,000 San Juan Grade Road. I think it should be 1,000 Salinas Grade Road. In 3 different places it says San Juan Grade Road, but...
I had San Juan Grade Road, and somebody says, no, it's Salinas Road.
Yeah, well...
And I checked with assessors, and it's back and forth. But it's always been the Salinas Grade Road.
From here it is. I came from Salinas last, and it was the San Juan Grade Road. So I think
Yeah.
it depends on your destination.
Yeah,
So
right, yeah.
From us here,
And the halfway point.
yeah.
That's
Maybe
where
the
it is.
halfway point. And maybe
But
we
on
call
the
it
water
maybe-
connection agreement page, it says 1,000 Salinas Grade Road. This is adjacent to Pacific Harvest,
Yes,
and that's not in the city.
and that's not in the city either, no. But that's being provided water.
Oh, it is?
It
Yes.
is connected to the city.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
fish
the
market's here.
the benefit to us is,
Connections, extension of our water lines, connections, and revenue from
Oh, yeah, and
outside rates. And outside rates are greater than inside
Okay.
rates.
but they will become annexed to the city.
When they can. Now, the LAFCO has the condition is that you can annex to the city when you're adjacent to.
Oh, okay.
So when the properties in Mission Vineyard start to come in and the fish place comes in, then they can go ahead and be annexed.
Okay.
Now, the city council struggled with this about 2 years ago, and we have a lot of outside hookups along Mission Vineyard Road on the loop there, and none of them want to come into the city, or there's no requirement. And the city council felt is that they wanted some sort of a thing where when we provide water service to them, that they will sign an offer of irrevocable offer to annex in the future. And this way here, we will know that they will intention to come into the city. And so they adopted this ordinance, and this is the standard ordinance that we administer now for all outside hookups.
That's how San Jose grew. They just extended them with nothing in the middle.
Oh,
So after you go 5 miles of plumbing, you condemn the land in the middle. You can't farm it anymore. And LAFCO came through and said, no more.
okay.
Any way of cutting the water off to the other guys so they convince them to join the city?
No, you can't do that.
That's an old tactic from the
Yeah,
Middle
go to
Ages.
Water District and ask them.
Yeah.
They'll give you a flat answer.
It is drought.
Okay, is there any public input on this before the commissioners get into it? No one from the public would like to speak? Commissioners, your thoughts on this? It looks like it's been done before. We'll keep ongoing.
What's the likelihood, though, that it ever will become part of the city because of Pacific Harvest?
As we go forward, and every application for outside service will be subject to the same rigorous interpretation of ordinance 213-02, and that will require them to enter into a irrevocable offer. In due time, it will happen, but
Every time one of those folks wants to develop their property, they're going to need something from the city.
Like Pacific Harvest, let's say.
Yeah, if they was adjacent to the city, we'd say, you can't go there unless you annex. Because we're going to provide you water, sewer, storm drain, and police.
And Rudy and I have also indicated, and we're going to go on record, that any development in the county, in our sphere of influence, that they would enter into some type of an irrevocable offer to annex to the city, because it does affect us.
Do we have the water? I mean, for this property,
Yeah,
for the...
we have ample amount of water. It's the quality that we're there. And we're currently on an action plan with the State Water Resources Control Board Drinking Water Division to drill a new well. And they will be beginning probably within a week or so.
And what we just discussed, is it written into the contract?
Yes.
About,
In the water agreement, yes.
and the annexation?
Yeah, that would be,
Protocol?
yeah.
Section 4
Section 4?
of the resolution.
Oh,
the agreement.
And that, in plain English,
The only- huh?
I was going to say, in plain English, that just means as soon as the next one becomes part of the city, they're obligated to become part of the
That
city.
is correct.
It just starts daisy chaining down the line.
Yeah, right.
And the only section here, when I read it, kind of scares me, is section 7. I don't know if it scares you. This agreement shall remain in force or in effect unless amended. Either party may request in writing an amendment to this agreement due to a change in the number of residential buildings on the property, which is allowed per San Benito County zoning codes, regulations, or ordinances. The amendment shall be approved by both parties to this agreement. And the county, can change it.
But they wouldn't be able,
Well, it has to be written and it has to be agreed to, but I mean,
By both parties.
yeah.
So they can make the request, but the city
have
doesn't
to
have
serve
to
it.
agree
No,
to
I
it.
know that.
see, counties are not in the business of running cities. That's for cities. They're basically the agricultural and the large areas.
But why do we have to
And
say
the-
county in this particular section?
And the zoning currently is,
Because it's on county property.
yeah, it's on county, and the current zoning is AP. Agricultural productivity, 5-acre minimum site.
If they want to change that to, high density, they'd have to go before the planning commission over there, and we would say, wait a minute, if you're going to be that close to the city, you're going to be in the city. Because you're going to benefit, you're going to have all the benefits of the city, so join up or we'll fight it.
So this is zoned agricultural, this goes through and there's water now being zoned. Is there some provisions of saying this is only for household use and not for
We've only given them-
agricultural use?
We're only giving them one water service.
Okay.
Yes.
So
We've
however
got
much they can get through a 3/4 line is what they're getting.
that.
Okay.
Exactly.
5 acres makes it too comfortable. It should be 10, 20, 30 maybe.
Just, yeah, I
That's
mean,
another
just,
story.
and who pays for that extension to the, from the current service point to the house?
The applicant.
The app, okay, so they're basically paying all costs.
And
Okay.
that's under condition 2.
So we
Section
won't
2.
be able to see what they're building. We won't be able to approve it, or...
Well, we have the plans from the county.
Oh.
It's going to be a single-family dwelling.
And will they farm the property, or they'll lease it out, or...
Well, they could lease it
Oh,
out. if
it's on
somebody
the
wanted to
cement
have
plant property,
Yeah,
is it?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, this
And
one,
7.5
back there.
acres, yeah.
Okay, any comments? We can take, we got the agreement, see, we want to, what do we want to do with this thing?
Well, we got 2 parts to it.
2 parts.
Consider one is the agreement, and then we got the resolution.
The agreement will go hand in hand when LAFCO approves it, then they will have to execute it. At issue tonight is the resolution with the environmental documentation that it's under Article 18 of the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15268, subsection B, and for ministerial project. the project will have a less than significant effect on the environment.
This is probably cheaper than drilling a well during a drought.
In the first whereas, it says, whereas an application has been submitted for outside water and an offer
service.
an offer to annex lands into the city. Should it be an offer or agrees to commit or,
Well, they've offered, they made the offer.
but we are going to commit them to it.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing where they will have to sign that water agreement.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's now therefore be it resolved.
Okay. Any other comments? Chair entertains a motion for action. I see it as ministerial. If we were going to do a bunch of houses, I'd see it in a different manner. But if they're getting one water hook to put one house, and we know that if they want to do more than that, they're going to have to drill a well, which you might want to contest, or get water from the city. We've got them. And I think it's in our interest to come in with the city or commit to being in the city.
We don't have to say anything about a contractual agreement on resolutions?
It says there, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista determines that the application for outside water service and an irrevocable offer to annex the land into the City of San Juan Bautista is statutorily exempt under that section.
See, we're not issuing the permit, we're just finding the fact that it's not going to, that's statutorily exempt.
That's the big thing. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay?
I'm all right with it.
I'll still entertain a motion for action.
Okay. You did ask that. I move that we approve resolution number 2015 27, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista finding the request for an outside water service and an irrevocable offer to annex assessor parcel number 012-160-010, consisting of a 7.764 acre parcel, is statutorily exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15268B4.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Call for the vote.
Yes. Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Absent, excuse me. Commissioner Medeiros?
Aye.
Commissioner Grenisoff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes 4-0-1-0 with Commissioner Garrett absent.
Okay, now we come to 5D. Consider amendments to the Municipal Code, Chapter 11-02-050, permitted and conditional uses by zoning district matrix. And this is in the zoning ordinance.
Zoning district use matrix.
District.
That's great. Go ahead.
District use matrix, okay. We spent a lot of time working on our own time, basically, at a couple of workshop meetings. They were publicly noticed, and we had some folks drop in to try to go through this matrix and get it up to date. The matrix basically, one column you list all your uses, and another column at the top, what zoning districts are they allowed in. And we have found that there have been some errors in the past. Certain things were left out, certain things were listed, but there was no place they were allowed. And so we went through it with public input and went through line by line to find out where certain uses were going to go. One of the comments that came up is, well, such and such is in that zone already. Well, that's immaterial. This is planning. What do you want to be there? So if you have a service station on a lot that maybe should be a store or something like that, and the service station won't be allowed in this other zone, what you do is you zone it for the store. Because it's not going to hurt the station because it's grandfathered or becomes a legal non-conforming use. At such time as it goes down, gets removed, or such a time period that it's not operating, it ceases to carry the value, it ceases to have its right to exist once it's been abandoned. So you look for, say, where would I like to have this, or where would I like to have that? And if you're down by an industrial zone, you put all your industrial stuff by the railroad tracks. And you put your schools and your rest homes and other quieter uses away from that. And again, it's just where do you want things to be? So we went through it line by line. Staff cleaned it up, put it in workable form for us. And I think what we need to do now is go over this thing to make sure that what we put down is what we want to have there. Staff, you want to add to that? I just felt good about this one. No, this is what planning is all about. Not what's there, what do you want there when it's time?
So we took out some of the, I guess, old uses that are no longer in the city, added some new ones, and then also incorporated some uses that will eventually come to the city. And then we also discussed whether they should be permitted, or should they have a conditional use permit, or if they're going to require site review.
Why don't you go down the line? You call them and we'll just announce them. And if there's a question, or as much as you want, we can do half and continue to the
Feeling
next
ambitious.
Because that's how we did the meeting. We just put a red line where we stopped, and the next meeting we just continued from that point on.
This is worthy of that.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
I unfortunately didn't bring my notes to
Yeah, 'cause
compare
we're gonna
from
have
what
the
we had
public-
before.
If the public's gonna look at this, they should have, we should get their input on any one of these, if necessary.
Okay.
Right?
Agreed.
Steph, you want to call them? And
Okay, so accessory buildings. In R1, it's permitted and site review. Residential 2, permitted and site review. Residential 3, permitted and site review. Commercial, not allowed. Mixed use, not allowed. Industrial, not allowed.
public park.
Public,
Yeah.
Parking.
We just say, mention the ones that they are allowed.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so agricultural, it's permitted and site review.
Explain what site review
Okay,
is
so
for.
site review is, they're going to review the plans and they're going to review the site to see that it's going to be able to accommodate, the use is going to accommodate the area.
And that conforms to our site and design review.
Yeah.
See, what you want to do is you want to get this stuff down to a point where staff can handle it over the counter, saving the clients a lot of time. If they have to come by each time something comes up, then they're going to have to deal with waiting time, getting representation. So certain things, if we've got the standards written up, staff can say, check, 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 you got it. You have to do number 4. Don't want to do it? You go to the planning commission. So you go to the planning commission when you don't want to comply with the standards that have been set. Okay? Go ahead.
All right. Co-housing, shared housing. Residential 3, it's conditional use. In their mixed use, it's conditional use. Daycare facilities, large. In residential 1, it's permitted, conditional with the conditional use permit and a site review. Under residential 2, it's permitted with the site review. Residential 3, it's permitted with the site review. In commercial, it's a conditional use permit. Mixed use, it's a conditional use permit. And in public facilities, it's a conditional use permit. Daycare facilities, small.
That would be 6 or less.
Residential 1, permitted in site review. Residential 2, permitted in site review. Residential 3, permitted in site review. Commercial, it's conditional use permit. Mixed use, conditional use permit. Public facilities, it's a conditional use permit. And in agricultural, it's permitted with the site review. Emergency shelters. In residential 1, conditional use permit. Residential 2, conditional use permit. Residential 3, conditional use permit. Mixed use, it's a conditional use permit, but it's also permitted depending on where it's going to be at. And under public facilities, it's a conditional use permit. Farm worker or farm labor housing, residential 2, permitted with the site review, residential 3, permitted with the site review, and agricultural, permitted with the site review. Home occupations, residential 1 permitted, residential 2 permitted, residential 3 permitted, mixed use, conditional use, and agricultural, it's permitted. Hostels, residential 3, conditional use permit, commercial, conditional use permit, mixed use, permitted. Manufactured homes, residential 1, permitted with the site review, residential 2, permitted with the site review, and agricultural, permitted with the site review. Mobile home parks, residential 3, permitted with the site review. Multiple family dwellings, residential 2, permitted with the site review, residential 3, permitted with the site review, mixed use, permitted with the site review. Now,
You want to take a drink of water?
1, 2, 3.
We got
Okay.
to be thoughtful of our staff here.
so residential care facilities, which are small, which is 1 to 6 individuals.
You missed one.
Room and boarding, I didn't have anything on there.
Should we just take that out?
Rooming and boarding.
If it's not permitted anywhere, why do we have it?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In case somebody feels it should be someplace.
Yeah, I think it should be limited.
I mean, up to 6 people, you really can't say anything, and if,
I think something else covers that.
well, let's put a question mark on it, we can always wipe it out later.
Go ahead, you know.
Okay. Residential care facilities large, 7 or more. And residential 3 is permitted with the site review. Residential located above commercial. In commercial, it's conditional use permit, and in mixed use, it's permitted. Secondary units. Residential 1 permitted with the site review, residential 2 permitted with the site review, residential 3 permitted with the site review, mixed use, conditional use permit, agricultural, permitted with the site review. Single family dwellings, residential 1 permitted, residential 2 permitted, agricultural, permitted with the site review. Transitional housing, homeless shelter, residential 1 permitted with the site review, residential 2 permitted with the site review, residential 3 permitted with the site review, mixed use, conditional, public facilities conditional, and agricultural is permitted with the site review. Two-family dwellings, residential 2 is permitted, and residential 3 is permitted. Now for the commercial uses. Adult entertainment is only allowed in the industrial zone with a conditional use permit. Agricultural, machinery sales, and service, it's allowed in the industrial zone with permitted. Agricultural processing facilities, when processing products are raised on the same property, and agricultural is permitted with a conditional use permit.
One moment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm thinking of the audience, television, and some of us in the audience. When it says permitted with site review, that means that the staff would look at it and give the permit after they have reviewed it using our site review standards and guidelines. When it says conditional use, that means it would come to the Planning Commission for its review. Is that correct?
That's
Right.
correct.
And Roger thought it would be important for you to know that. So as we go along, the audience will know
Okay.
what permitted means and conditional.
Good point, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you might want to, if it's all permitted for R1 and R2 and R3, you might want to just say R1, 2, and 3 is all permitted.
Okay.
That means residential.
Yes.
Residential, right. You know what I'm saying? Kind of box those up together unless they're different.
All right.
I think.
Okay, agricultural uses that are soil dependent, including crop and tree farming, dry land farming, greenhouses, and vineyards. Agricultural permitted. Agricultural wholesale animal raising facilities, livestock raising. Agricultural, conditional use permit. Alcoholic beverages off-site sales in
Commercial.
Commercial mixed use and
mixed use is permitted, industrial permitted, and public is permitted. Alcoholic beverages on site sales,
No.
Wait, back up real quick.
yeah.
C, M, U, and I.
Alcohol
oh yeah,
site.
industrial. It's commercial, mixed use, and industrial. They're permitted.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, alcoholic beverage on-site sales in commercial and mixed use, they're permitted with a conditional use permit. And in industrial, there's a conditional use permit. Ambulance services in commercial, they are allowed with a conditional use permit. In public, they're permitted, and in public facilities, they're permitted. Or industrial, sorry about that, industrial.
public, yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
PT Park.
And animal boarding services, in industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit, and in agricultural with a conditional use permit. Animal hospital, veterinary office, in industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Antennas and telecommunication facilities, conditional, in a commercial mixed use, industrial, public facilities, and agricultural, they're all allowed with a conditional use permit. Antique and collectible shops, in commercial, mixed use, and industrial, they're permitted. Assembly use and public assembly, R1, R2, R3 are all conditional use permits. Commercial is a conditional use permit. Mixed use is permitted. Public is conditional use permit, and public facilities is conditional use permit. Auction houses, commercial, mixed use, industrial, and agricultural, they're all allowed with a conditional use permit. Automated teller machines, ATMs, in commercial mixed use, they're allowed with a conditional use permit. Automobile sales, new and used, in industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Automobile service stations and repair, in the commercial and industrial, is allowed with a conditional use permit. Automobile parts sales, in commercial and in industrial, it's allowed with, it's permitted. Automobile storage, in industrial and agricultural, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Automobile washing, in commercial and industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Bakeries retail, in commercial and mixed use, it's permitted. Bakeries wholesale, in commercial, in industrial, it's permitted. Banks, in commercial and mixed use, it's permitted. Bed breakfast inns, in R2, R3, commercial, they're permitted, and in mixed use, it's a conditional use permit. Bicycle sales, rentals, and service, in the commercial, mixed use, and industrial, they're all permitted. Boat sales, new and used, in industrial, it's a conditional use permit. Bowling alley, in industrial, it's a conditional use permit. Breweries, in commercial and industrial, they could be there with a conditional use permit. Financial institutions, it's a commercial and mixed use,
We should
they're
combine
permitted.
those two.
Yeah.
Blueprinting services, industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Building material services, in industrial, it's allowed with a conditional use permit. Business services, in commercial, mixed use, they're permitted. Catering services in commercial and industrial are permitted. Card rooms in commercial and industrial are allowed with conditional use permit. Cemeteries, public and private, in public facilities, they're allowed or they're permitted with a site review. Instructional services in commercial, mixed use, industrial, and public facilities are allowed with a conditional use permit. I left commercial, recreation, and entertainment open. Communication. Was that?
Filming is also.
Okay. Oh yeah, and filming was also left open. Communication facilities, and industrial, public facilities and agricultural, conditional use permit, community gardens, in R1, R2, R3, and public facilities, they're all allowed with the conditional use permit. Contractors' yards are allowed with the conditional use permit in industrial zones. Okay.
Do we want to continue down the line, or?
We've done two.
Well, let's see if the public has any comments so far on what we've been doing.
That's a good stopping point.
Does anybody like to comment on what they've heard so far, good, bad, or indifferent? What we're trying to do is make it easy for the city manager to invite people to San Juan Bautista saying, look, commission says this is an allowed use, or at least they're willing to talk about it in this particular district. You know, it's at least you got a chance to make an application.
We're at the halfway point right now.
Yeah, I think we should.
I had a couple of questions, just to understand your thinking. Georgette Laurie, as usual.
Glad to have you with us.
The community gardens, why weren't they allowed everywhere? That's next to the last item we just read.
Well, they're in the R1, R2, R3, they're conditional use.
Yes, but the rest of them, they are, how do you get one?
They're not,
It's not allowed.
they're not allowed in commercial, mixed use, or industrial.
For example,
You want those commercial zones, commercial and industrial zones, you want them for specifically commercial and industrial uses. And if we start putting a lesser use in there, it will tie up the property, and all of a sudden somebody that you want, somebody's large comes in, like take that 7.5 acre parcel. Somebody may want to buy it, but now there's going to be a house in the middle of it. That's going to be a lot of negotiating and say, hey, you got this house, but we need this whole property for a parking lot area. And so by letting community gardens go by with the permit that you really can't revoke right away, it takes out the chance to get an industrial use on an industrially zoned property.
but it isn't even allowed in mixed use?
Mixed uses are more in a commercial zone with a residential upstairs, and the properties are pretty tight. And again, you do want that opportunity for commercial and residential. It's a tradition in America. People live upstairs and they sell downstairs or rent upstairs.
I was just thinking, I live in a mixed-use area, and the house across the street on Franklin has like 2.5 acres. And I just thought that community gardens goes along with our idea of trying to become a model green city. That might be something that you would reconsider.
Well, again, this is why we're here,
Yeah.
to talk about, like I said, a model city. But again, personally, and I won't speak with the commission, it has to be the right place. It cannot, to me, it cannot be a use that will compromise the city manager inviting somebody or saying, hey, it's a great, oh, wait a minute, we've got it planted with lettuce and we have a use permit which cannot be revoked without a reason. And all of a sudden, so we've been waiting a long time, and to condemn property with lesser uses than you want in that area. I mean, there's other places we can put them, but you don't want one downtown on the main street, which if it was zoned properly, somebody could say, I want to put my community garden right here. We'd be arguing why you can't do it.
I should have come to some of the workshops.
We miss you.
Because I'm sure you argued about when Chapito's garden was in the middle of 3rd
Yeah.
Street.
We
with
did.
3 lots for hours.
We did.
And that was a very big draw.
But see,
But
that
as
end
we
of
all
town,
know, the water issue is...
that end of town is a problem. We have too many vacancies down there, and I would like to see somebody bid on that and say, hey, I'd like to put a historical-looking building in there.
Yeah, I know. We tried a few times. Instructional services, what the definition of that would be, would home occupancy perhaps cover that?
Home occupation would be like, for me, with a music instructor.
Office of a teacher, piano teacher, and so forth.
Yeah,
Or
those
is
are pretty
that-
quiet.
Is that instructional service?
That's more of a home
No,
occupation.
it's a home occupation.
Home occupation.
Is where, when you have a business out of your own home.
And instructional services are what?
Those are more like a brick and mortar establishments, like schools.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to make any comments? I know this is rough on the ears, but I really think we have to do this. Commissioners, what do you want to do here?
I think we've done exactly half. I think we can do the next half next time.
Yep.
Yeah, this isn't something we want to railroad. This isn't something we want to push through. I want it very transparent. Hopefully the commission agrees. We want it very transparent, putting it together. And if the use is missed, something that should be, or something we want in the city, now's the time to say, let's find a place where it could go.
Why did we separate banks and financial institutions?
There was a reason, but I forget what it was.
Why did we separate banks and financial institutions?
First question for the next meeting.
I think it had something to do with mortgages being considered a financial institute, like a mortgage office being a financial institution and a bank being a...
You mean like a real estate, what else do they call that?
But would it differ?
A stockbroker? Is that a financial?
Title companies.
Yeah. I think that was the differentiation between them is a bank was purely a bank where you would have theoretically a teller.
Yeah, but they're in the same, they're both permitted in commercial mixed use, so we could combine them.
Sure. Since you put it that way.
Okay, where are we?
We're on page 3.
Yeah.
If you think about putting line numbers, this would be a good time to have line
Oh,
numbers.
yeah. That'd be really
They're
good.
both permitted for the same reasons.
Okay, bank and financial institutions.
And a header.
And headers, yes.
Yeah, header would be nice.
Where's financial institutions?
Just a little bit below here.
Okay, so make that banks and?
Yeah, or bank slash, or whatever.
And financial institutions?
And we
They're
take-
both in the same areas.
Okay. So, next meeting, we'll start with convenience stores, retail. Okay, thank you for putting up with us, folks. But again, is this on, staff, is this online?
The municipal code is online, nothing changes now
Could we get them online?
as a draft.
As a draft, yeah, put draft right across it with line numbers and headers. But no, really, in that way, the folks at home, now they've seen half of this thing, can go through it, read the other half, and be ready to discuss both sides at the next meeting. No problem?
And definition of permitted means staff. Conditional use means sign.
Commercial. Do you foresee any problem doing this? I'd like if we had a big chart, because that would help too. But yeah, as long as, see, to me, you got to have accessibility. And everybody doesn't pick up a copy of the agenda or that particular report. They could have come in downtown, say, look, I'd like a copy of that particular staff report. So probably nobody did, but if it's online and we let them know it's there, we've now, the responsibility is on the person to say, it was there, you chose not to get it. Good? Okay. Do we need a motion to continue? Yeah, let's get a motion for continuance.
I'll make a motion that we continue this subject until our next meeting
Okay.
A second.
and to be added to the next agenda.
And be added to the next agenda.
So that's just a consensus type thing? Or do you want to vote on that?
It's up to you.
What does the code say?
That's, I don't know what the code says. This is all new ruling. I would say if everybody agrees, that's a consensus.
Consensus, okay. Okay, what is it, 5E? Consider an amendment to the Municipal Code, Chapter 10-2, adding Section 10-2-65, plan line maps, and consider a resolution for that. Staff, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Chairman, and members of the commission. Yes, when we started to look at plan lines a couple of years ago, we started to develop specific lines and alignments and mathematical maps that would there. And then when I got to the point where I says, now we're ready to start the approval process, I examined our current code, and it does not have the ability of the Planning Commission to develop plan line maps. So I researched neighboring communities, and I came up with a what I felt is an appropriate resolution, and section 10-02-650 would be a new addition, and it just says Planning Commission authorizes plan line maps. And I've got 4 categories in there that give you the ability to plan for routes and alignments and stuff like that. And particularly I was sensitive to is that when you want to preserve and protect public right-of-ways, not only for utility easements and transportation corridors, but vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, public transit systems within the city limits and the urban boundary lines. And so it's the full array of being proactive in the planning process to preserve and protect right-of-ways that you feel are necessary for these essential corridors. And under B, the commission would have the ability to detail those specific routes, and the Planning Commission under C would then conduct the public hearings and adopt the plan lines with its necessary public government code notification for public hearings under section 65090 and 65091 of the government code, as well as our municipal code. And then under section C, then upon approval of those, you would recommend to the city council, they would approve it, and then authorize those to be filed in the plan line maps of the San Benito County Recorder's Office.
Once again, we have staff that is looking ahead, and this is what planning is all about. You don't wait until a quality developer comes in and say, wait a minute, 90 days, we've got to do an ordinance change or do this and that. By having a plan line, the developer can come and say, look, I needed access. Well, all you do is put that road in, which you'd have to do anyway, and nobody can build inside the plan line. So it may be a 60-foot right-of-way, depending on what the current right-of-way widths are. But with that, nobody builds in it, and at the time it's developed, somebody puts it in. It saves the developer a lot of trouble trying to sell you, as the city, as to where a road should be. The city says, this is how we want the road for these reasons. You can build to it. And saves everybody a lot of trouble. I worked with Marina, with the county of Monterey. Remember Marina, California, was in Sand Dune City? It was big sand dunes. And yet, from the 60s, there was a whole book of plan lines. Down all these great big lots, they said, okay, this is where the roads are going to be. So if you're going to put a subdivision in here someplace, there's a road that's going to go all the way up to Reza, and you're going to put it in. And so they weren't arguing with developer. This is where it's going to be. Everybody knew that. And look at Marina. They didn't spend a lot of time trying to figure where to put the roads. They was determined ahead of time. And that is, again, what planning is all about. And again, your staff can sit there with guys and say, look, it's not a negotiable item. This is a legal document called the plan line, and this is where the road's going to go. Any comments from staff? Oh, commissioners? Yeah. Now, if anybody in the public would like to comment on this, as to why we're doing it, why it's needed, or anything else you want to know about it, feel free. Are we explaining this so well that nobody has any questions? No, I think it's important because I think transparency requires that not just that we explain it, but that everybody understood it or gets to ask what's missing.
Okay, let me make a comment. Break the ice.
Shall we vote on this? Shall we vote on this?
I like the idea. I like what you're doing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now that's...
We need a lot more of that.
Yeah, we need that.
I'll give you an example of why it's so important. Is on the completion of your sequence, you will hold public hearings, and we will notify all existing property owners of your intent to adopt plan lines. Those plan line maps will be recorded, property owners change hands, residential every 6 to 7 years. But eventually, the new owners will come and they say, well, hey, I don't know anything about this. I bought this and I want to put a house here. No, you can't. By recording these maps, it tells the escrow officer to go research that and make sure that when the house, the property is sold, that that's identified as to just say, hey, here's a plan line and that's a restricted area for that easement or that right-of-way. So it's good public policy for future owners.
Who determines where these, who and when are, who determines where the roads or the lines will be, and when does that get done?
Planning
When we
Commission.
see a need? Okay.
The Planning Commission.
And the public.
So just, I mean, for instance, there's a plot, an area, and we just, it shows up in an agenda.
Well, look at our
or-
7.5 acre
and you-
parcel.
Right.
Supposing you wanted, so you had a stub end on both sides, and you want that road to continue right through. That would allow them to build on both sides.
Got it.
And that would keep them from putting the house and anything else in the middle, so that when the developer comes in, he'll build half the road, the other guy picks the other half.
But bear in mind, Commissioner Granasaw, is no matter what you do in terms of the planning to plan for the future, it has to meet the test. Is there a public need? Is it necessary for the public health, safety, and welfare of the community? And that's the overriding issue. You just can't arbitrarily say, hey, we're going to do this and this. You have to meet that test, that it meets the public interest.
Sound good?
So we're not just taking a plot of land and saying,
Yeah, no.
here we go, and,
No.
Depends on where the road should go.
right,
I'm
right.
sure that every time we lay a line down, public interest will provide.
I'm sure of it.
Mr. Chairman?
That's,
Just a quick comment on what you're working on.
would you state your name for the record, please?
Oh,
I know.
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. This has been needed for a long time, and there's been several instances where people are surprised that the city wants XYZ, but the city's kind of had it in mind for a while, so I'm really glad that Roger is working on this along with the planning commissioners. But one thing that I thought of, because you're bringing up that 7-acre parcel that wants water, I think that's what you're referring to.
I use that as an example.
Yeah, as an example. But I just want to know whether or not the county notified the city when they approved the house on that lot, because if they haven't, we aren't working closely enough with the city to make all of this, I mean, with the county, excuse me. The city and the county need to be on the same page, and I don't know that they need to get our approval. I'm sure they don't need to get our approval before they go forward with that, but we should be notified.
Yeah, and they did. They notified us, and then I sent a letter in, and those comments and recommendations that we submitted in our letter was incorporated into their approval.
Perfect.
It was good, and it was...
They're getting
one of
the word.
Yeah, it was one of
That's
the
good.
few that they cooperated very successfully, and the fact that it was within our sphere of influence was more important, too.
So hopefully we can look forward to
Yeah,
more of
yeah.
that cooperation in the future.
Well, we can ask the question every time something comes up like this. Was the county?
But we can't question it if we don't know about it.
Well-
They in this case,
Or-
didn't notify.
but-
Or we find out after the fact, as with Earthbound.
As the planning commission or the staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a resolution here. Staff went over it pretty close for us. Do you have any other comments before we call for action?
Is it 28?
Yes.
Okay, there being no other comments from the commission, the chair entertains a motion for action.
I make a motion that a resolution of the planning commission on the city of San Juan Bautista recommending to the city council amendment of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code to add section 10-2-650, authorizing plan line maps under Article 6, general regulations and standards.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett is absent. Commissioner Naderis?
Aye.
Commissioner Grenisoff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously with 4-0-1-0, Commissioner Garrett absent.
Thank you. Okay, what's next? 5F is hillside development regulations. We've been talking about this for a while. Everything isn't only seen from the ground, from the street level. As the eye goes up, part of what people come to an area is because of the background, the sunsets, and what's on the mountainside. You can have a bunch of ugly buildings tearing up your ridge. You can have ugly buildings on the most prominent parts, or you can have it controlled with adequate zoning. And once again here, staff is supporting us with a means to do planning. Have a say in things before they happen, not afterwards, and hoping we could do something about it. Staff, you want to explain this?
Yeah, and again, I think what you had said is that it's really the regulations that we drafted here gives the Planning Commission as well as the City Council the necessary tools to protect, and safeguard some of the steep slopes and ridge lines around the city. Now, unfortunately, what we've identified in the map, the majority of that is in the county, and the county currently has a hillside ordinance. The one that we drafted is very similar to the county's in terms of there. We just identified it as more applicable to ours. A very small portion in the map is within the city right now. But that doesn't preclude us. It's in our sphere of influence, everything that we've colored in orange and pink on the ridge lines. But it sets the table that as annexation takes place and comes through, then it will be encompassed into those districts of the hillside ordinance. So it's really a planning for the future. The very portion of in the lower southwest corner is very small in compared to the big picture of our sphere of influence on that map. You can see. But we've identified through the contours all slopes of 20% or greater, and then we've identified the ridge lines is in the darker red or pink. In our application, I have Exhibit A, and I've pretty much framed it after the county hillside ordinance and made it applicable to our situation here. We have the intent, purpose, and the applicability, and the interpretation, and the definitions, which is almost identical to the county's, with the exception of we tailored it to our city code, and then the design review. And I think that's the section under Article 6 that you should be looking at is the design review, where that'll give you the ability to, when you exercise that applicability of the ordinance, is that all development in the hillside overlay district shall be submitted a pre-application request up front to us, so we make sure that it conforms to that. Then we will allow that application to go forward to the Planning Commission for grading and site development and stuff like that. And the location and structure is really the centerpiece in the relationship to the balancing act, and I've tried to identify of the 10 items there the things that would be more applicable to reviewing a site that is more important. And feel free if you feel that we should be adding and maybe expanding those review categories. Feel free to make those comments.
Any comments from the public on this? This was particularly significant on the Monterey Peninsula. The Monterey Peninsula Area Plan, when you go into Monterey, you do not see anything on the ridge. Any development is below the ridge itself. And that was several cities sitting down, having no jurisdiction over each other, all agreeing that Monterey Peninsula's viewshed was something to protect, and they all got together and did it. Now here, again, a lot of it is outside of our jurisdiction, but at least the county now knows that we are concerned, and we're going to hold for good planning, not just somebody wants it, give it to them because, they can make more money that way. The fact that you want a development does not mean that you're going to get it, because you should not be getting a benefit that is not earned. And so if somebody says, I just want to do it, and it's better if I do this, I make more money. What's best for the city? What's best for the viewshed? Okay, no comments from the public? Commissioners, how do you feel about this?
Well, we've talked about it. several times, and I'm ready to move forward.
Okay. Mr. Gretisoff?
I'm fine with it as well.
Item number 23 on page 4. Shows I thought a parcel of land with a slope of 15%, so we're talking as little as 15% to make, to start the process.
Well,
That's what we're saying there.
Is that in
This
our
was
formula?
item 4,
And we're shooting for 20.
20, yeah.
20, oh no, I'm sorry, this is
15.
item number 23
On page 4.
on page 4.
Okay, 23.
We're
Parcels
saying-
of land that has a slope of 15% or greater within the building area of the building envelope.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's where you're starting with.
Yeah.
Anything at least with 50%.
Yeah.
We want to keep it at 20.
Out of sheer curiosity, what's the grading of the one up on 7th Street we spoke about earlier?
Yeah.
And would that apply to this?
Let's see, that's 140 feet and 18 feet, so that would be something like about a 12%, or, less than 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the ones currently up on Lang Street, those would all have to come,
Some of them was up into the 35, 40%.
yeah.
Yeah, the fire department has a lot to say about stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because that's steep, you need bigger curves to turn.
or more powerful fire engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's comfortable with the language and everything, because this is what we're going to go by in the future, right?
Maybe unless you want to continue it for further review, or
I tell you, I would like to continue this, just so that I can, I would like to go through it myself.
Might want to see this a little closer, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a biggie, and I'll be honest, I have read through it, I have not necessarily processed it all, but yeah.
did this help tonight, the explanation?
Oh, no, it absolutely helped tonight. So yeah, but I would like to continue this until perhaps the next meeting, so I can go through and if I have any questions, ask staff to help
Well,
clarify.
that's fine. Let's look at number 32, though. An improvement or alteration, I think it should be, not alternation. And number 33,
At 32,
an improvement or alteration.
okay.
Sorry, what was the second one?
On number 32, an improvement or alteration.
Yeah.
And number 33, it says off referred to as the crest of the hill. It should probably often referred to
Often, yeah. Right.
as the crest of the hill.
Yeah. Mhm.
Bring back that any changes to it, we'll fix it back.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so there's a proposal to continue. Is there consensus on this, or do you want to vote on it?
I think we have consensus.
Consensus? To
Continue.
Continue.
Really? Okay. No, I mean, I'd
There's
rather do
three
that,
of you,
but
so.
There's no other way we can't do this, yeah, we need to continue.
That's
So-
fine.
I mean, you guys can certainly make a motion, I'd like to review it and maybe I come up with a different point of view.
Trish, did you say that we should send all the
Maybe.
recommendations to you, or just bring it to the next
We'll
meeting?
have to put it together, but,
Okay.
yeah, I'll certainly give those to them. Yes, please.
Okay.
I think one would,
Cool.
I think, nail it.
Solidify, okay. I'm amenable. Okay, where are we? So the consensus of the commission is to continue this item to the October meeting.
As an action item, right?
Actually,
Okay,
then,
October for action. Okay, now we have 5G. Considering monument project design approval on the Alameda, and the applicant is Richard Ponce. What are we doing here?
We don't have anything, do
I
we?
don't have anything, I think.
Oh, this is that handout that was over there.
this one here,
Oh,
the big one.
Ah, yes.
Is this our reference here?
Pardon?
Is this our reference?
Yes. Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. I am a member of the San Juan Committee, and we were offered the opportunity to create a monument at our main gateway to San Juan Bautista, which is the Alameda. We've talked about this for many years, 20 years or more, and we've never had the opportunity to do this. And luckily, with the help of a very generous developer, we have money to create something that we've needed for a long time. Before I did an informal project review last month, and it's basically the same as what I presented in the informal project review. What you see, the bell tower is the same size as the one that's on 101 and 56. It looks, the dimensions that are here seem really, really big, but they're actually the same size as you see out there. And that's a very, very impressive monument, and we want to do that or copy that at the Alameda. We were careful that we did not block any important views. The school monument is in a good place. You know, it's not. We're not going to block that. The Padre sign on the school gym building will be visible. We're not going to block that. The projects on city property, so there's no money out of our residents' pockets to do this. We already have the property. Let's see, what else do I have here? We also have interest from another developer. The Del Webb project is interested in helping us with our monument. We have the support of Anthony Batal, our supervisor, District 2, that's behind our project. Scott Fuller from San Juan Oaks is also behind our project. What we are doing here is helping them actually with their project. We're enhancing their project by making San Juan look better.
When you use the word they're interested, does that mean financially interested?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so basically, this is what you see, what we're trying to do. Very simple, but very impressive. We have plans in the future to add to the back of this monument. You'll see in the map there a parking space back there. Well, behind the monument, we plan to, in the future, to put picnic tables, information about San Juan behind the monument. There will be 2 walkways up to the monument. The monument will stand on a knoll. It'll be about almost 3 feet on a knoll, so it's more visible. A sign that we plan to create for this monument would be, I think, something like a Zeller-style lettering on redwood. It will be lit, and basically that's it. I'll also like to answer some of your questions if you have any questions on it. The good thing is that it's not costing us anything. This is a great project for our community and for our business people, and I'm asking for your approval to go forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty.
backwards. This is a school over here, right?
Yes. Yep. Stoplight is here. And this takes you to Hollister going this way and 101 coming this way.
I personally would like to see a site plan here with more of the roads all the way down to 156, so we can see everything in the area. Would it be in anybody's interest to see if, since they've gone this far, to have a couple of posts put up there with flagging, so you could see how it's going to sit in there? And so when you drive down 156, you'll see those two posts there with the flagging. Say, hey, that's a good angle.
I think, yeah.
Can I add to that? We actually did consider exactly that. It's put in a position with that in mind. So the way it sits there, it's the best way to look at it from the highway. So we did consider that. That was one of the main considerations.
But I think we're asking that we can see a mock-up. What do you call that? Storyboard? Yeah.
Story poles. Story poles?
Storyboard.
Pole.
Pole.
Story pole.
Story pole.
Okay.
Yeah, sticks.
Sticks with flags on.
Stakes.
I'm not opposed to having a monument, but this is going to be with us for a long time.
Yes.
And I want to take all the time to make sure that what you want to do and city needs and everything is all just what we want it to be.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying this to hold you up, but
Yeah.
I just say to me, this is a major decision.
Yeah. Well,
Because you're bringing people off that highway, which we want,
Yes.
and I want them to know where San Juan is.
What's the size of the
this-
wall?
The wall is 6 feet. The wall is 6 feet. The monument at the base, not the concrete base, but with the adobe part you see there,
Yeah.
is 15 feet wide, the same as out on
The lateral?
101.
Okay.
The width of the bell tower itself, not the base, is 10 feet. And the total height of this monument is about 20 feet. Same as what the one out on the highway. The numbers sound a lot, but if you were to drive by the one on the highway, it seems to be the perfect height.
Are the bells on the highway still there?
No, there's a wooden one somebody put there.
So how do we ensure that what we put there will remain?
Who knows?
Yeah.
They stole our brass things.
Oh,
from
on the cemetery? Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Well,
And I have to add to that, this was not something that was designed by the San Juan Committee. We had a committee of San Juan residents, I think I gave you the list last time, that felt this was a good design for San Juan.
Now, overall, from the end walls to end walls, what's the total feet linear distance or length?
Do you have that, Roger?
54 feet. 54.
Length of the monument?
54?
54 feet
54
wide.
feet, okay.
Yeah, the drawing is stunning. I mean, just so we're clear, this is absolutely stunning. The idea is fantastic. I would like to see some, they should maybe strip the stakes with the orange
Right,
netting, just to
yeah.
kind of see, kind of get some perspective.
so that not just for us, but for the public.
Yeah,
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be,
That will not be too costly.
And also-
We have to be careful that we have enough money to do this, so we can do that.
And then more detail, again, we had to ask all these dimensions. That could have been I put that on your final presentation. And then, like I said, just more of the area around the sign, especially the 156 part.
you're talking just a bigger perspective.
Yeah, just, in other words, had this been a little bit bigger. Or
And that is correct in when you have a monument sign and it's subject to vandalism, you've got to I've put in certain features there. I'm telling Richard that when you put it, we'll have some lights
At the
that'll be
base.
cast into concrete that'll be shining up at night, and they'll be on a timer when they shut off. But the bell tower, or the bells, that there will be ratcheted through that great big 8x8 beam there, and then we will probably weld a nut and stuff like that, so nobody can just go and yank that bolt and nut off and then take the bell, so it'll be fairly secure in its construction.
One of the things that we discussed a lot and felt that was very, very important is this doorway that you see there. The design of that will be like what's in the mission, and that would be honoring the Native Americans that actually built our mission. That's a river of life design. So that's honoring the Indians.
Will the doors open, or is it just
No,
no?
it's just
It'll be recessed from the stucco in about 4 to 6 inches.
Okay.
So it'll give it a nice shadow effect, and then there will be wood planks with the hasps and stuff like that that'll show.
That's great.
What are the bells going to be
I'm glad you
constructed out
mentioned
of?
that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I wouldn't have known otherwise, yeah.
I was asking, are the bells going to be brass, or is that still to be determined?
We have the one at the corporation yard, the big
Oh.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful brass bell.
I hate
I hate the idea. I mean, I love the idea.
Right,
I hate the
but,
idea. I'd
yeah.
rather do a cast
Yeah.
iron painted brass color just
Well, you
because.
paint, you could concrete, pour it out of concrete and just have it gilded or something.
Yeah, I don't think we can send off to Spain and try to get a bell, a brass bell.
That will shoot your budget.
Right.
Budgets are
Yeah.
concern here.
Then it might just be a bell on a 2x4 at that point.
No, I think it's
It's
long
gorgeous, yeah.
overdue to have one.
Yeah.
This rendering is stunning. I mean, it really is just stunning.
Any comments from the public? If we're through asking questions.
We have speaker cards?
No.
Would anybody like to speak anyway? This is a true public thing, so anybody wants to speak, we'll hear it.
Karen Gredisoff, 1108 3rd Street. I just saw the drawings tonight for the first time and went, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I drive past the one on 101 and 156 going to work every day, and it just brings a nostalgia. When my daughter was in town, seeing the wall with the arched doorway, it just, warms the heart, because that's what our town is about. Adding to it, that just brings the whole light of what we're trying to do to the town. My question would be, because we have the two walls on both sides of 156 that have the archway, this is great for what we're looking to do now, maybe on the other side, because that's still part of San Juan over there as well, tying it in on that side as well, or tying in the wall on that side as well. Just something to think about for the future.
Are you talking about the McCollum, like the freeway off-ramp?
Right, yeah. And when you're on the Alameda at 156 at the light, over to the right, you've got the wall, and you see the door with all the pretty climbing roses. I mean, it's gorgeous. It just brings a whole bunch of nostalgia to the town. I think it's a great addition.
Well, the monument at the lateral was the entrance to town at one time, and now it's bypassed, and I think it will recall to people's memories what it was like to see that.
Exactly.
Thank you, Karen.
And Neighborhood Watch can help watch those bells.
Okay.
Georgiana Velarde. I'm one of the informal citizens who joined with the committee. It was Richard Ponce to sit down and go over this.
Good move.
We, this is a perfect example of community. It's the city's property. We're asking them to donate to put this on. We have new developers here in town willing to participate with the money. We have all of the business community behind this, and then the rest of us on the fringe. And those of us who are still on the fringe from 25 or 30 years ago are looking at this as
Finally.
Here, it's finally here, and we're offering to this planning commission, of which I'm very proud, the opportunity to see something that we've been dreaming about for so very long actually happen. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Look, one more.
I just want to say I had the pleasure of working on this committee also, and it was one of the most positive committees I have ever worked on. Everybody had a goal of making this a very special place in this community, and this committee did it. And they're good. It was good, positive experience.
Very good.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Another?
Yeah, I think it is a wonderful plan, and I think it's going to look great. As usual, I have a couple of practical questions, and hopefully the answers to both will be, don't worry about it. One is we've talked a little bit in the past about a circle there, and I wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to affect anything if there is ever a circle put at that intersection. That is
You mean a roundabout?
just a roundabout, I'm sorry, a roundabout. I always get my traffic circles and roundabouts mixed up. A roundabout there, and I want to make sure that it's placed so that it doesn't interfere with that in case we ever do that, because that is a lousy intersection. I'm sure many of you are aware if you come in that way, especially if you turn onto 4th Street like I do instead of going straight down 3rd or come off of 4th Street. I think a roundabout there would be nice. And the other thing is I've often seen construction, sometimes construction trucks who are actually doing work for the city parking there, and I just want to know if there's been any thought to where these trucks will have to go if they don't have the option of that empty space.
Well, that space was not created for,
I know it wasn't created for that,
so
but it's
that, I think is something that
been
can be
used.
handled fairly easy. Yeah. No, I don't think that's fine. No.
Richard, I think this would be great to put in the Mission Village Voice. Don't you think? To let all the public know. So maybe Ann Catano can contact you.
Sure.
I think it's really would be great to share with the public.
Yeah, one thing I just thought of is the story poles. Right now, it's
Recessed.
It's
Yeah.
recessed quite a bit, and we do have to do a lot of
Engineering.
fill to create this mold. We're going to need some pretty long, tall poles, to do the story poles. But we can figure out a way if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do. Just
Okay.
I really don't think it's necessary, but we'll do whatever you like.
I wonder if the
There's
city-
something else you could put in the article too, to people, if it's set up, a week or so ahead of time, say, hey, drop down and see it, and tell the planning commission you like it, or good location, or anything else they want to say. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're with you. We support you.
So we can continue this one to the next meeting?
I'd like to say a comment.
Okay.
I was a member of the committee too as well, but I hate to put a damper on this, but the belfry that you see here is one of the drawings that we did, was one of the drawings that we wanted to go with. But I thought the committee had voted in a different design. And even though I'm comfortable with this, if that's what the committee wants to do, but I was there at these committees and I didn't see a straight wall going in anywhere as the original design was going to be put in there. I know that Richard wants to put a replicated version of what was on Highway 101, but I want the city of San Juan Bautista to also think of the future and why we're putting this in there and how it's going to look 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't finished. So I'm disappointed
But right now, I would not vote for this particular design until I see a professional drawing with everything that's going to, with the design of it and everything else intact, how it's going to fit there. And I want that committee to agree that that's what we want to do. And bring that forward to the planning commission.
That's a good point.
What was the width of the base
15.
underneath the,
The slab that holds this whole monument is 17 feet across.
okay, but how about deep?
How deep,
Yeah.
that I didn't get.
Okay.
Of the one over here. But the monument that we're trying to recreate, it's 2 feet. It's about 2.5 feet. The wall itself, the thickness of the wall is 2 feet. This monument will stick out a few inches from the wall. It'll be part of the wall. It'll be framed and stuccoed. And getting back to Commissioner Madurs's comments, we did talk about a wall that was kind of like this, River of Life wall. Talking to Roger, we had a certain amount of funds. That would be more costly than a straight wall. We talked also on our committee meetings about straight walls, about curved walls. We talked a lot of things. All of that was put together to create this design. I'm sorry it feels that way, but...
Well, like I said, the key thing here tonight...
Well, what I'm asking for here is like with any other development or any other project goes in here, I want to see for this commission and for the city exactly what it's going to look like, size-wise, height-wise, everything, with the landscaping going in and what have you. And I want this committee that was put together for that purpose to agree to that. And I don't think in this version here that we came to that conclusion. That's what I'm saying. And I think I attended all the meetings, and it's not that I disagree with this, it's just that I'm speaking for the rest of the committee. That's not what we voted on.
See, one of the things...
It may be the committee might think, well, that's the only route we're going to go with. But right now, what I was asked to do when I designed it for the committee, they wanted some curves in it. They wanted some movement in it. They didn't come to me and ask me what you thought, David. They said, yep, we wanted to replicate what was at 101, but they want some movement on the surface. So we also put in the doorway, which was the
River of Life
design
motif,
or what have you. That was all agreed upon. We understood that. But if Roger thinks or the city thinks this is the version we need to go, this version has to go back to the committee and at least given a chance to give an opinion on it.
See, one of the things, if we're going to issue...
I don't know why we had a committee if we didn't.
Yeah, if this is a normal, say, a house plan or site design, we would have all the details that we've been talking about. So what we've got here is a preliminary continued discussion to give more ideas to make it work. But at this point, you couldn't even get a building permit with this.
Yeah, I realize
So
that.
at least now we're finding, you're getting through all these embarrassing questions, getting a lot more detail, be able to put stuff together. So when it comes up, that's what I've always said. Bring that application up there so there's no questions can be asked.
Well,
It's so clear, and then it just flies.
Okay, the reason why we're doing this, cost is one thing. It's a San Juan project. It's San Juan property. We were trying to bypass all the conditions that a outside developer would come in to make a development. This is something that the San Juan people are doing as a freebie from a generous developer. I'm not doing this as a developer myself. I'm doing this on behalf of the city.
But it still has to be done according to
Yeah,
code
okay, we can
and
do
to
that.
safety, and all these roads and everything like that have to match so that everything works. And again, the public hearings you've been to, we have asked all these embarrassing questions, and when the project comes through, it's good. And so no one here has said anything nasty about this thing. We like the idea, so you're getting a lot of support from it. But we need enough for which you could get a permit. Now, Roger, it's going to be on city property. Who will issue the permit, the planning commission or the council?
The city will issue the permit to the building department. We'll have to go through the city council to get permission.
So basically, it's a use permit issued by the city council.
The maintenance of it's going to be with the city.
And then is reviewed by the planning commission and it goes to council?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I say, when I send stuff to council, personally, I want it so tight so that they only say, thank you, good and faithful servant, you're in. Rather than say, oh, wait a minute, you did this, you did that, why didn't you tell us this? I've told people, you bring extra information. If you needed it, you had it. If you didn't need it, it was called insurance, just in case. So I think you've got a lot of verbal support for this. I don't see any problem there. It's just now the nitty-gritty is how we're going to put that down there, because you've got an issue with a lot of dirt coming in there. Is that going to affect the drainage? Will it need a pipe or something? So that's all engineering, but again, somebody's going to have to answer those things before you can put something on top of it.
Yeah, well, there's a drainage line that's it's in this drawing. That's also been discussed with the city.
Oh, there it is.
But that's not a problem, we can come back.
And then when it comes to cost, it depends on what materials you're using. So if you're using, like, say, adobe or concrete or whatever, that's going to be a different cost. Your design is going to be subject to that. But if you're using like styrofoam and wood, you can get more plastic to it, and you can make it more modern looking, and also old at the same time. I'm just saying, when somebody says cost, have we really look at the material we're using versus what we want to end up with. I don't want certain materials to dictate what we have to live with. So I thought the committee, on behalf of the committee, I have to speak for them, I thought that they came up with a cost-effective design. And I thought that that design was expressed and shared. And if this is what they want, fine. I don't have any problems with it. But I know there's a.
What problem do you have
I know
here?
there are other cost-effective ways of going about this, regardless of what materials you use. So, but I've made my drawings public, and they know what they look like. And if they don't want to use that, that's fine. But that's not what I would have to do.
Okay, so you want your design?
No, I didn't say I want my design. I want what the committee voted on.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll come back. You can vote any way you want.
Now, what the committee wants, I'm going to repeat myself.
Well, we just
What
said
they
we
voted on.
were against this design, so we'll say
Yeah,
that.
okay.
That's fine.
Okay, next. Thank you. Is there any other comments? We'll set consensus for continuing it to the next meeting. Is there a consensus?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So that goes to October. I've got a busy October. Okay, now we have some discussion items. 6A, fence and building paint selection for JJ's Burgers. Where do you want to go with that one?
The owner of J&J Burgers came to the city and asked that if he could paint his building, and he said that he would keep it the same color, which by and large it's a little bit lighter, but he had a hard time matching the paint, and it was a minor, when we've had a minor alteration, and so we gave him the permission to say, if you're going to keep it the same color, go ahead and paint it. You know, it's restoring and maintaining your building.
Well, it did need painting, that's for sure.
Yes. Now, the white picket rail there, that was done with some concrete work and stuff like that and a ledge. And then they put it up one weekend, and it's a white colored, and I've asked them to consider painting it a more subdued color, you know, that will maybe fit in.
I think black would be the color to use.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And what is the one post that sticks up above all the others? Well, you'd have to see it.
Well,
There's,
wait,
as you're walking in, on the right side, there's a vertical.
First of all, the color did not stay the same. The building was white, it's now brown.
Wait a minute. The building is tan, and it's very similar to what was existing there before. It's not white.
It wasn't white before?
No, it was not white before. It was tan.
Okay.
And I have pictures of what the after and before. Now, the paint that he put on there is new, and it looks, oh, it's a different color, but it's very similar to what was there before. The old paint was aged, you know.
I just have a regret that when we evaluated this project, the brewery, we should have, knowing, well, I'm not sure that we knew, that the property was all owned by one person. Mr. Hippolyto or Serta owns the whole thing, right?
Yes.
I wish that we decided on a paint scheme and everything at that time.
Yep, probably under single ownership. No, we didn't talk about JJ's.
Yeah, on the brewery, but we didn't include JJ's.
But he goes all the way to the corner, yeah.
First of all, if I'm mistaken about the color, then I absolutely apologize. I remember that building being white or a cream color, and now it's tan. So
It's like a different shade.
it seems like it's several shades. But if I'm mistaken, I'm mistaken.
Does it work? Does the whole thing work? Is that what we're talking about? One color versus the other, I mean, is it all gonna work together eventually when we're finished with this?
My concern about that project in general is we've got the stamped concrete that was supposed to be, at least on the brewery side, supposed to be pavers. And it's stamped concrete over there now. We've got a fence that's been assembled that's, regardless of what color it is, I'm not sure, it was wood, I believe it was wood slats going around portions of it.
I
No,
just remember landscaping.
There was planters, there wood planters there,
Okay.
about 18 inches high, and he had planters around there to keep people from going into the public right away. Yeah.
But the fact that it was done on a weekend, unapproved, those are things that,
It just seems like, I mean, the weekend following our last meeting with this same property where we told the applicant of the brewery, go by definitions, more concrete got poured, and it didn't get poured to look the same as the stamped concrete that wasn't.
yeah, what was that
Now
concrete?
there's a slab of concrete.
I know, I'd heard that they were pouring concrete and I had to leave town, but I noticed they had worked on the driveway. But had they done more curb on the property, or what did happen that day?
Those were the bases to
bases for
the trellis arch that would go into the plaza area, and he got it wrong, he's got to take it out.
The trellis arch that we haven't approved,
Yeah,
is
right.
that it?
And
the original.
Then he poured a slab next to it, you know. I don't know why he did that.
Okay, well, that's got to go.
Yes.
Okay. And what is, maybe this is, we're still on discussion, what is the status of the brewery? What's happening?
He's waiting for PG&E to finish the electrical. Don Skinner is handling for PG&E, and I talked to him, and they're finishing up the design, and then Mr. Hippolo will have to then install the underground electrical. And then we can commence with getting the grading of the lot, the driveway, and then paved and striped and stuff.
Okay.
It just seems like there's a lot that's just kind of being.
It's taken longer than we anticipated, and Mr. Hippolo was not working expeditiously, and I know Rudy is calling them twice a week at least.
Yeah, I've taken upon myself to pretty much follow through and make sure that he's doing everything to plan, and trying to motivate him to get it done at a faster pace.
Right. Well, my concern and my reasoning for kind of bringing all this up was the fact that, again, JJ's Burgers is what's on the discussion item, and it was the fence. We have the same stamped concrete issue. If the color was the same or close, and I'm mistaken, I will absolutely own that. It just seems like if we're going to give them this much and they want to go that much, then it's like, well, okay, I would have preferred you stayed back here, but you keep kind of pushing.
We're not sticking to plan.
And it just seems like the fence is kind of a major portion of that whole thing, and it got the visual effect of it changed.
So what do you think we should do to mitigate it? Have them take it out, paint it different color?
Would you want to revoke the permit?
Well, what permit? Or for the whole property?
No, just for the...
But JJ's that portion never had a permit, I don't think.
Is there a use permit on JJ's?
No.
Okay.
Well,
But it is part of historic, so I mean, they changed.
Getting umbrellas or what?
It's on a separate.
The umbrellas got put in yesterday.
It's on a separate parcel.
Yes, new umbrellas got put in yesterday.
See, my thing here is that we're commissioned here to carry out the work of the city council in terms of their ordinances and policies. And a permit carries the weight of law. And granted, we made a mistake in not picking up the whole property, but still, if this is a violation, doing work that's outside of the issued permit, that's serious. Now, is there other fines involved for violation of rights of the permits?
No, he's, other than changing the pavers and stuff like that, he's just working very slowly to, and he came into you and he wanted to put a building there, and I think he's concluded that the commission's not going to approve that, so,
Well, we denied it last time. There's no maybes about that.
Yeah.
He can appeal to the city council if he wants to within the 10 days, but if he's past that.
It's interesting because we put the plan forward and everybody agreed on it.
We worked on it,
And
hard.
it was an agreement with everybody. It's just all this extracurricular activity that's going on unbeknownst to us that we're not expecting.
Well,
And I don't know why we're trying to be honorable to them as to what goes in, and we want the.
And he has the checklist, and Rudy's contacting them, and he's got a lot of work to do after the PG&E. He's got the landscaping, he's got the irrigation system, he's got the trellis that has to come to us, and then he has to complete that.
and we had even talked about doing the landscaping before he did the painting,
Yeah.
and then he did the painting.
Yeah.
Comment?
I live across the street. I think we might as well throw the color of the trash enclosure into this mix. If you haven't seen the coral paint job, maybe you ought to look.
Right.
It's behind JJ's?
And he's aware of that,
Okay.
took it upon himself to paint it.
It's JJ or Mr. Serta?
Mr. Hippolito. Yeah, we told Mr. Hippolito that was a block wall.
Okay, yeah.
And I told him, I says, he has to plaster it, stucco it, to make it look, and he did that, and then next thing I know, one weekend, he goes and paints it.
Yeah.
That I guess is maybe a portion of the issue, and I don't know how much authority we have, but it just seems like all these things are happening on the weekend. And if there's not much happening during the week, but the weekend all of a sudden we get concrete slabs poured and things painted, it seems like they're just trying to circumvent what.
No, I don't think it is. I think he doesn't quite understand the procedures. He's got a limited vocabulary, and Rudy is working with him and everything, and on a weekly basis to say, listen, everything you got to do according to the plan.
Well, that was another thing. His daughter was going to be the foreman or manager.
Is there an architect or engineer involved with this stuff?
No.
When he was here, he was working with us. There's no problem there, I don't think. I don't know where it was stripped at all.
Well, for
He was working
when the
with us.
architect bailed,
Yeah.
that was one bad sign. So I don't know what we do about that.
I mean, this is the beginning of the historical district. We can't let this one go.
It's got to get done right.
And I know Rudy and I have been on his case. I says, well, why don't you finish the steps to the deck and the ramp and the bicycle rack and the landscaping and the irrigation system, get it there. Nothing happens.
How about a letter from the city attorney threatening some kind of legal action for violation of, the permit conditions.
Well, I can
I mean, it's got to be, like I said, this is the historical district, and we're real tight on everybody else to make it work. He got in there, we gave him everything we could, worked with him to make it happen. And we just, either we're serious about it, or we're just going to turn around and let him do what he wants. So I think the city attorney should get on our team, activate our team member and say, hey, squeeze this guy. Because, it's, like I said, if we didn't mean it, we shouldn't have said it. If we did mean it, we've got to back it up.
All the conversations that I've had with Mr. Serta, I've been real blunt with him and telling him that he has to follow the plans, that he can't go and think because this color is probably going to look better with the building or whatnot, that's not going to fly with us, that he needs to stick to what originally was approved. And if he has any changes, that he has to come before us and state those changes.
I think next time you talk to him, tell him the planning commission is not happy.
Oh, I've
And tell him to look at it on TV.
yeah, I've relayed that information to him, and I've told him that.
I'm wondering, and this may not even be an appropriate discussion, but I'm wondering how much of it is a misunderstanding, because I've heard from people in the public that he was hoping that structure he'd be able to sell churros there. I don't know how other people find out about this stuff, and we don't know, but I don't.
I mean, my conversations with him in regards to the building and what's going to happen with it, as if it's going to be a restaurant or whatever it may be, I don't think he has a clue. And I've emphasized to him that on many occasions that he's wasting a lot of time and money on this building.
Yeah.
Well, we've even approached him to say, why don't you get a property manager that can marketing, can start looking for a tenant for the building, and it's just like,
Now, his daughter is this spokesperson, or
well, I mean, I'm not.
does she understand what we're talking about?
Not necessarily. I spoke with them after the last time that they came before us, and pretty much the daughter seemed a little sideswiped. She didn't necessarily know what was going on. I don't think there's a good communication on the project between him and his daughter, so that's why I took it upon myself to kind of be the mediator between the city, the commission, and his project.
Good.
So is Mr. Serta the one who's making the decision on the fencing coloring of JJ's, or is that JJ?
That I don't know.
No, that's a JJ. That's the owner of JJ.
Okay.
That's a separate parcel.
Separate parcel, same owner?
Mr. Serta owns it.
Okay.
It's a separate parcel.
Then, okay.
Did JJ come to you about the fence?
No, that came up, cropped up over the weekend, and he came to me about the painting, and I told him as long as it's the same color, he has the right to do that.
Do we have speaker cards?
She did. I don't have a pen.
No, we have to go with the speaker cards first.
That's fine.
Julie, this item? Is it this item?
Just curious, Rudy, I don't know if you're bilingual, is he a Spanish speaker? Is that part of the issue?
Yeah.
Is this being properly translated for him? Because I don't know if you are, but I know there's at least one person that works at City Hall that is bilingual.
He's bilingual.
He's also bilingual.
Yeah.
So you are able to put this in his own language, and
So now there's
it
no
still
excuses.
doesn't quite get through.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just wasn't sure if you were.
Yeah, and I think the majority of the problem is that he's not. He wants to do the project himself, because I think he feels that he's already lost out on the architect and his court troubles or whatnot. So he's taking it upon himself to finish the project. And I've told him that normally it doesn't happen this way. Normally somebody buys a lot, they get a construction team, architects, engineers, the whole works, and they get it done in a few months. And I told him we're getting frustrated because it's taken a lot of time. And I told him you should be more frustrated with it because it's taking up your time your money and your potential money that you could be making. So,
And what about the quality of workmanship?
Well, we ride herd on them, make sure that it
Yeah.
meets the code, yeah. What he,
So far, so good.
I haven't walked over there.
It's what's going in is questions. Questionable.
Yeah.
Is there, with the way that driveway sits, the way things are kind of not finished off, is there a public safety hazard issue that needs to be addressed? Because
no, I don't think there's a lip between the concrete and the asphalt. We keep down 4 inches.
right. No, yeah, I saw the tall things, and I know that that's going to be filled
Curb and
in.
gutter, yeah.
What about that drainage ditch off the sidewalk? Is that hazardous? Is that, because sometimes it's covered, sometimes it's not?
Yeah, yeah, he still has a lot of work to do in the drainage to get that thing functional,
My immediate concern is public safety. I mean, if be there yellow caution tape or not, it can't stay open for months and months on. I haven't walked over there, so I don't know exactly what that area is like, but
I don't want to walk through
I know, I don't either.
if there's things that are open for weeks on end, that needs to be first and foremost, is to get the public safety issues taken care of
There's
first.
holes and trip hazards.
You weren't here before they moved the building. There was a basement that was wide open.
And a lot of parking space going away.
All right.
Okay.
Did you have did everybody get to comment? Okay.
I had just a quick question to understand. Karen Grenisoff, 1108 3rd Street. The permit that was done, since it's one lot or one owner, but 2 separate structures on that lot, with the understanding that there was probably some language barrier in there. When he was doing the permit, was it specifically stated in the permit for the quote-unquote brewery, the newer building? Was it specifically in there for that, or was it landscaping and pavers for the lot?
The entire thing.
The entire thing, and that might be where his misunderstanding was on the language barrier for that portion. But as far as the fence for JJ's, that's not part of the landscape.
He had an
That's
architect
still
and
a
an engineer to
structure.
start with.
Yeah,
So,
that was
the beginning.
translating and mediating for him.
They had the appropriate people, but they had the professionals then.
Okay.
And then something happened and the professionals left and we got the remainder.
Okay. I wanted to be clear on that because it does look cohesive going from one building to the next, which is what they were trying to do. I do think pavers would.
Well, it's not what they wanted to do, it's what was approved on that site plan. That's why I was talking about site plans.
Right.
That is what we can hold somebody to.
And that was
Because
the
we
intent.
worked every part of that in harmony, and that's why this
just for
building
that
in the
building?
middle,
Just for that building though, the new building, the site plan. for the new
all the
building.
property that goes with the new building. But
Okay.
again, like I said, it was all done in harmony, and all of a sudden, somebody wants
The
to...
plaza portion between J&J Burgers and there was designed to meet the same elevation as J&J Burgers because we wanted to encourage the tables and umbrellas to go out into that plaza.
Right, no, I get that part, but I'm wondering if there was a misunderstanding as far as like running it through to JJ's.
It's all on the plans. Whatever was on the plans is what he has to do.
Right, but I'm asking about the permit. Was it specifically in the permit, you go up to this line and then JJ's is left by itself?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, that's all I wanted to ask.
That's the way it's written.
Okay,
But
okay.
the thing
And that's
is,
the way it's drawn, too.
What else falls into this is that, it's like with anything else that's contingent to the building, you've got to match what's there.
Correct.
And, even if Doña Esther was to do some remodeling or something, well, they're going to have to do it so that it matches what you need to put in there historically.
Right, right.
So that's where we're, it's not so much that, well, it's got to match the brewery, other than it's got to match everything.
Right, no, I'm just, because it went all the way through to JJ's, I just didn't know if there
Yeah,
was a
but the permit
misunderstanding.
was never
with the
written to
permit.
say, well, if you're going to change JJ, you're going to have to match the brewery now.
Okay.
Okay, any other public comments?
I think it's pretty clear that he doesn't understand the process, being now that he doesn't have an engineer. And that's probably why his engineer left, because he probably wanted to do it himself. So I think what we need to really concentrate on getting him to understand the procedure.
I think he needs to turn to the city as his engineer,
Could be.
because we've got the people to do that.
Okay, if that's
Yeah.
And that's a tremendous burden on us because we're so busy and we don't have time to hand babysit a developer in the step-by-step, and we're not going to do it. We've got the conditions of approval, we got the checklist, we give it to them and just says, you better get somebody to do it. And that's our approach.
He needs a property manager.
Yeah, well, he
Or
doesn't understand the procedures that well, and maybe a letter would be the solution. Just
I
to
think
let
this,
him
I
know
think it's
that
from the
he's
city attorney.
masterful.
I've issued them several letters already. Yeah.
I'm with Ernie. I think a letter from the lawyer would be simple enough to maybe get the point across. I mean, it sounds like you're making the effort, and I mean, if you're talking to him a couple times a week and explaining it to him like you are, I'm not sure there's much more you can do in that aspect, but I think a letter from the city attorney saying, so we're all clear, you are to follow everything that is on the conditions of approval as they've been approved. And maybe from the city attorney, at the very least, it'll be, don't change anything. Don't pour concrete that doesn't belong there. Don't change
Or you'll pay to
pavers,
have it taken
Might
out.
wanna
Or you
include
will-
that, and maybe you need to bring this before your turn to clarify as well.
and ask for a response back. I think that is well in line at this point. I mean, if he wants to take extra time to do it because he wants to do it himself, I'm not sure there's any mechanism that we have that says you've got to get it done in this time span.
Well, he has a performance bond on this thing. And the performance bond would be that if they went off to China or something like that, that the insurance company would be the one to pick up the tab on that.
Right.
And
I was talking more about the timeline that he's taking, the amount of time that he's taking, not running away from the project.
no, he's not running away from it, he's not doing it.
Right, well.
So if the performance, if it's creating a public nuisance, I think a performance bond could be called, and he would either,
We'll threaten him back from there and everything. It's just like since he poured the foundations to that trellis and slab and everything, and that was 2 weeks ago, and nobody's been there since. And here's 2 weeks and nothing has happened, and we said, why don't he come and start doing something?
yeah, tell him, if you tell him, we're not going away.
No. Well, I
He
think-
might, but we're not going away.
Yeah, I take it upon myself to call him at least twice a week.
And I appreciate the effort. I think you're going above and beyond the call of duty. I can only imagine the things for the city you could be doing if you weren't holding this guy's hand.
Right.
But I do commend you for doing it.
Thanks.
Like I said, if push comes to shove and we end up in court, what effort did you make to reach the man? Well, document everything you do with this guy. I mean,
yeah.
to the letter.
Yeah, I got a file already kind of
Good.
building
Cool.
up and stuff, so.
I know how this goes. It's a pain, but it may save us. But yeah, I think the threat, to me, the performance bond would be the way to do it. Say, hey, buddy, the insurance company's going to be on your case because they're going to end up paying for something they didn't want. And
Okay.
his credit will go to hell with a handbasket. Okay, any other comments on this? Okay, we got 6B, Zeller sign on Franklin Street property. Ben, that has your name on it. Anything you should
Yes.
know?
Well, it was called to my attention that part of the conditions of approval were that the applicant place a replica of the Zeller sign or plaque recognizing the Zeller house on the front exterior wall along Franklin Street. There were originally 11 conditions, then we added 2 more, and somehow it never came back to us for approval, or what happened?
No, this was approved. You have the vote.
Okay, but why, the record showed we had 11 conditions of approval. Remember I brought it up last month? And you brought the one forward that has the 13 conditions.
Roger presented 11 conditions of approval. At the meeting, 2 more were added.
Right.
And those 2 are on here.
Right,
And the vote was made and the resolution served.
okay, but it was never enacted.
Oh, you're saying with
The resolution's enacted, whether he has completed all his conditions
Oh, that's what I mean.
That
Yeah,
compliance.
You're saying is he's never complied
Right.
with the conditions,
Okay.
not acted on, yeah, okay. And which one is that is the mounting of the sign?
Right.
Yeah. mhm.
And Valerie Egland, who was a former student of his, suggested that maybe Richard Ponce had the old Zeller Art Studio sign.
Yes, I do. I have the original sign that he had hanging over his doorway. It was given to me by previous owner Jerry Perstica. I can't pronounce his last name. Anyway,
yeah.
he knows that I collect and San Juan.
Okay.
We'll get together with
Anyway,
Jim and
I
let him
do
know.
remember at the meeting when that was discussed, and he was asked to put the Zeller sign on his doorway. And I remember he was concerned that it might be a privacy issue. So I think that might have been in the mix. I think, I don't remember that was actually a condition, that he put that sign up there.
Or some kind of plaque recognizing the Zeller House.
A plaque
Yeah.
was required,
Yeah.
but the sign itself, no.
Well, just,
Replica of the Zeller sign.
Yeah.
Or plaque
Yeah, I
recognizing.
think it was a plaque that he was going to put on there, but I don't think he wanted a Zeller studio advertising a carving business, because that would interfere with his privacy. But a plaque, I think that was required.
yeah, somebody found the minutes online, I guess.
Yeah.
And it says it was suggested and the applicant agreed that a replica of the Zeller sign or a plaque recognizing the Zeller House would be mounted on the front exterior wall along Franklin Street and would be a condition of approval. So we just would
Write
hope
Jim a letter,
that he
and
can
we'll
do
get
that.
him in and talk to him about it, yeah.
No, we don't hope that he will do that.
Yeah.
We would like him to
See,
comply.
put up this-
Does he know what's...
Okay.
Yeah.
Any comments on that one, public or otherwise? Commissioners? Okay, that was his discussion. Let that one go? You okay with it? Okay.
Staff will take care of it. Yeah.
6C, Earthbound Farms proposed expansion of facilities. Staff wanted to tell us something about that? Oh, hey, that's right, close it up. Do I have a consensus to go to C?
Well, the Benito Link has got an article for us.
Yeah.
And Rudy has talked with the developer or the coordinator from the county that's handling it, and I think they'll be at our next meeting to make
Yeah,
a presentation.
Unfortunately, they couldn't come forward today to explain the Earthbound project because they're going to present it to the county tomorrow. So they didn't want to give their presentation to us before giving it to them. I'm not.
Is it to the planning commission? The
I
county,
believe so.
county planning commission?
Yeah. However, they do want to come forth on in November to present it to us.
2 months from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the county is not overseeing this project. It's being done through a outside outfit, so a consulting agency from the Santa Cruz area.
Yeah.
So they're just presenting it to them.
That's contracted with the county.
Yeah.
The county is ultimately responsible, but they're contracting for the processing and administration and oversight of that.
Sure.
That's interesting. But that doesn't give them the right to bypass us.
No, yeah, and you know, I try to get information on this project for maybe about a month already, and just barely today I got the information. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Any
No.
comments?
Comments?
I guess
Anything from the public?
we're waiting for that November meeting. Would the public like to comment on Earthbound Farms? Whatever you saw in Benito Link or anyplace else? Or if you attended a county planning commission meeting? Okay, there being no comments from the public, is the
Would you
commissioners
like
have?
this on the November agenda? By any chance, if they're...
Yes, I think
Yeah,
we better put that now and tell
They will let us know, you know.
Okay.
Okay, we're counting on it. Okay, next item, 6D, a report on the Strategic Planning Committee.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Gretasoff.
Strategic Plan Committee, on the 11th, we did not meet quorum. However, we did have some discussions there. I think the biggest thing that came out of it was probably one of the biggest accomplishments, and that was the new timer on the crosswalk at the Alameda. It now has a timer that actually flashes your time up so that you know how much time you have to get across. So Jolene and John Freeman certainly put in a bit of effort on that. At one point, they told us to go pound sand, and I think we pushed back. And Mary Gilbert, Mary Gilbert, I think she kind of went to bat for us quite a bit. She is the she is the interim transportation planning manager with COG. So yeah, she helped out quite a bit, and so we've got the crosswalks that give. We actually had a test 4 or 5 months ago where we literally tried to walk across the street to see what the feel of it was, and we determined that
Scary.
Yeah, it's green for 5 seconds, it flashes for 35, and then goes completely red. Huh?
Seconds.
42 seconds.
40, yeah.
It feels like 42 minutes.
I've gone through a lot of time.
Yeah, so we actually did it and walked at a normal pace, and her assistant Veronica was with us in high heels. She was right, like, almost not there, and on the way back across, it was kind of funny because there were 2 joggers that came up next to us, and as they're kind of sitting in place, we kind of went, "What do you think about the light?" They go, "Well, we're running, and it makes us nervous because we can't even get past the first lane before it starts flashing." And I mean, they were, across in no time at all, but they said it made them nervous. So hats off to Strategic Plan Committee, Jolene.
So they not only have a timer, but they've increased the amount of time.
I don't know, I think they increased it to 45 seconds. I think it's to 45. I think we were told you could go to maximum of 50, so at least they went from 40 to 45. But at least now you kind of know where you stand as far as your time. So that was cool. We did discuss the solar initiative of putting solar panels, making it a city ordinance for solar panels and presenting that. Youth Commission, that was formed. They're accepting, the city council is accepting applications to expand that. And the visitor center that's inside the bakery has been a smashing success.
Good.
Handing out pamphlets and whatnot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Success. Okay.
Thank you, committee.
Next one. Oh, does anybody from the public want to comment on this? Commissioners? Okay, consensus. Next item will be the Harvey's Locker. That one up.
The owner has initiated, after the last meeting, the sprinkler system contractor. They're in there working. They've been there for a couple weeks, and they got a couple more weeks to go, and completing all of the complete structure. And I met with them today, and they're contacting the fire department because they're going to make the connection on the 2nd Street so that they'll have the pressure valve and the tested. And so it's a work in progress, and it's continuing. I've talked with Deborah Mall, and she says, well, if they're proceeding, let's hold off until they've completed the thing, and if they continue to neglect and don't do the necessary things, she'll write the letter and forcing code enforcement. The revocation of the permit is not with the Planning Commission, it's with the City Council.
So were we in error at the July meeting in asking for a letter to be sent and presented here tonight for a revocation hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I missed that.
Yeah, the Planning Commission can recommend it and everything, but the revocation will occur through the City Council.
Even if the commission was the one that issued the permit?
Even though, yeah, right, that's the way our ordinance reads. I think it's 11-16 or something like that.
Oh, that means, because at least if we hear the public, we hear the revocation and say revoke, they have a right of appeal. If they go to council on revocation, the only appeal is to the courts.
That's right, because it's the city council, theirs is final,
Yeah.
and then they have to go to the court.
Okay.
So pending the fact that they're completing all of the work, we did not want to take any enforcement action there until he would show that due cause that he's not completing it.
So
Okay, well, the thing was we wanted movement.
I have a couple more questions
Okay.
regarding it. One was the last meeting, he said he was going to be removing the signs and doing something with there. Do we know what the status of his signs are?
He's fixed up one of the signs, and then he's going to remove that, yes. Yeah, I don't know if he's done it yet or not.
I haven't seen any change on the building unless it's on the Second Street side.
No change.
No change.
No change?
No. So that's
I'll remind him, yeah.
quite concerning.
Yeah, we were on the Church Street side this morning, so I didn't go and take a look at the...
Were you able to get in and look at the auto repair or restoration building? What's the gig with that?
Yeah, they're working on it, and he's retrofitting that area there, so part of that area is supposed to be for RV parking.
He's got 3 or 4 vehicles and engine blocks on the ground. When I walked past it on Saturday, it looks like it's somebody who's running a car restoration shop. It doesn't look like anything that's getting ready for vehicle storage or anything of that sort. This is behind the sliding doors?
Yes, yeah.
On Church Street?
On Church Street?
On Church Street, yeah.
It looks almost nothing like a vehicle storage area and looks more like something that's set up for
Auto repair shop.
auto repair or a loose restoration area.
And we don't have a permit for that?
No, you can't have any restoration or auto repair. It has to be storage. I assume that all of that stuff was going to be stored into his new locker arrangement that he's working on.
Which brings me to my next question. On the Second Street side, that originally was for vehicle storage on the interior? And now there's storage lockers in there?
That is correct, yeah.
Did that come for approval or change? Does it
No.
need to?
No. He didn't come for approval, no. Still storage.
Okay, because I know one of his concerns when we brought this at the last meeting is he said I had to buy a whole bunch of extra storage units, and it sounds like his money went into an area that was supposed to be automotive storage, and it's now for lockers. So that was more of a voluntary thing he did as opposed to a necessity. He could have been putting that into the sidewalks. I took a long look at the Church Street side where he was saying that he can't put in driveways and this and that, and I don't buy it. Even if that whole thing has to be...
Yeah, I think he's mistaken because I've gone over, I have the plans, it shows where the driveway locations are, and he has to comply with that. And the plans are drawing and approved, so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was just to say something. The building foundation at the corner of 3rd and 2nd, I don't know if that's something we can look at. It looks like there's visible gaps between where the building sits and the foundation should be. Is that something where we can bring up for them to repair? That would be a safety concern.
I've pointed that out to him, and I told him that he should take that skirt and go down there because cats and animals go underneath it, and so that's up to him to make sure it's vermouth-proof,
And the fireproofing for the living quarters?
It's complete. The 1-hour wall goes up there. I inspected it. It's there, and it's fire taped.
Okay. So that's done. Yeah, my concern and my reasoning for wanting this back on the agenda like it should have been was, again, I went back through the minutes over the weekend, and, I mean, this has been brought to his attention several times. It just looks like every time he says we're going to do, it just doesn't get done. And that's why I would like this to be a discussion item next month as well, so we can get a progress report. I would like to see a progress report on a monthly basis on this, because I'm just concerned that it's going to slip through the cracks, and it doesn't seem like he seems like he's motivated. And so I
think he's been motivated for the last 3 years. When I came on board, he's done all of the returns. He's put the sidewalks in on both frontage and did the handicap ramps. He completed all the stuff. He took and spent a lot of money on the 2nd Street strike, putting in and getting ready for the sprinkler systems down there. Unfortunately, the sewer system wasn't counted on, and we had to address that, and that cost the city about $16,000, and it cost him about $28,000, total. And well, I understand there and everything.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it, but he's progressing. And any time when you can get somebody that's progressing and not take retaliatory action against them to shut them down, you're better off to keep them in business.
I agree with that, but I think that there have been several things where he has tried to circumvent. I mean, he knew he was supposed to put in curb gutter and sidewalk on 3rd Street, and he decided to put grass in 2.5 years ago. So that's my concern, is just that that's my concern.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public on this item? Any commissioner comments? Whoops.
Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. If I remember right, that section on the corner of Church and 2nd, where supposedly there might be a car repair business going on there without permit, that section was originally approved for RV vehicles only. And that was what triggered the idea of requiring sprinklers in the whole building. Now it's all lockers. I don't think they were approved for lockers. So that might be something.
No, I think you're wrong, Richard, because the fire code, it's the square footage that dictates a fire sprinkler system, not the usage.
Okay,
it's the square footage of it.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
Is there documentation that section should have only been for RVs? That's what was, I think, permitted, or that was the condition of the permit?
Yeah, I'll go check that and make sure, right?
Yeah, because I think we're dealing with the same situation as we are with the brewery, things done without following what they were supposed to do. But I agree, he is progressing, and we're happy for that. We certainly need his sales tax, so we have to encourage him a little stronger to follow his conditions, but we do need his business.
Do we collect sales tax from the lockers?
Property tax.
Property tax only, so no sales tax, property tax only. Okay.
It is a needed business.
Yep.
Okay, no other comments from the commission? Okay, we'll go down to 6F, downtown streetscape. I think, Vanda, you have that one.
Well, last month I prepared this draft of the San Juan Bautista Historic Downtown Streetscape Guidelines, and you only got it before the meeting, so you didn't have a chance to review it. And I'd hope that in the last month you'd be able to review it and that we would discuss it this month. Certainly, on the next agenda, I want it to be an action item, whether we continue it, for further discussion. But did you have any comments? Anything to add? Anything to delete? Do you want?
I still need to review
Okay.
it. I apologize for not going through it. but-
Okay, so let's take a look at it for next month. It'll be on an action item. And I guess I've been out of town, but did this intersections get painted this last week or the week before?
Last week.
Are there any other pending things happening downtown that maybe we could know about, or
In terms of,
the type of intersection painting?
well, each one of the intersections will be striped with a crosswalk, and that will be the European crosswalk. And we're grinding the bumps. We started at McCullamy, and we're heading to the south and trying to get the bumps out of it before we'll do any patching.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at it for next month and
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, then. Future agenda items. I think we've been packing this pretty good. Anything else you want to add to what's already been discussed or staff's been asked to?
I'd kind of like to know status of the Hacienda de Leal, where we stand on that whole mess.
with getting the lawyer to write a letter, that part of it, yeah.
I think one way or the other, we need to figure out what its status is. If there's no permit or none that can be reasonably found, then we need to figure out how we address that situation. I understand it's a mess and it's not easy, but we need to deal with that one sooner than later, I think.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
Okay.
I haven't been over there since we did that walkthrough. I don't know whether the pizza oven's being used,
Well,
just
we can put
because, I don't know
We can't get into detail on
I'll be attending an
that.
event on the 19th.
if you'll be attending an event, so you'll be attending a public,
Streetscaping.
you'll be attending a public
Hillside.
assembly event.
Matrix.
I got an invitation for it anyway.
Any other future agenda items?
We're pretty full. I mean, I got a ton of things here, but we are pretty full, so.
Well, you bring them up and we can,
Yeah,
we can.
We've got the Harvey's Locker,
Okay, that's covered.
Valero, I would like to
Valero,
look at and address regarding curb gutters and sidewalk.
permit conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
The Hacienda de Leal. It had been discussed a couple of months ago about a fence ordinance and how to deal with fences versus walls versus construction and heights and guidelines.
And is that discussion of,
I would say discussion.
discuss
walls that might be going on.
discuss fences and fences versus walls,
Yeah.
okay.
And probably not top priority, so not necessarily next month, consideration of construction days and hours and laying down some guidelines.
There are
Well, those are-
guidelines.
We put them in the permits. No working on Saturday, Sunday.
Are you thinking of enforcement maybe, or?
No,
Because generally they're allowed to work Saturdays up to a certain hour, but not Sundays.
in general, you're right,
Yeah.
but nothing in majority of them is it listed. So
think it
Most
is.
all of our permits that we issue, we
Yeah.
have noise restrictions, vibratory equipment, and restricted hours. Every one that I've done so far,
That's what I recall.
no work on Sundays.
Okay. I guess that's contradictory to what
What's
I was
actually
told in
happening?
the meeting. No.
Oh.
I mean, there were some issues that I had seen. I just want to make sure that it doesn't become an issue.
Well,
So
you want to put
if
that
it's-
down?
If it's already
discussion?
done to the, I think it,
But we
I
can't
think,
discuss it here, but we can put down.
yeah,
for
I would say
discussion.
let's discuss it. If it's already there or there's a provision. I think I've been through the city municipal code and I just haven't seen
Oh,
it there, so.
I think with every
It's
specific
Not
project.
in
Specific
the
to the-
municipal
Yeah.
code. There is a section into there in commercial where noise and odors and stuff like that, but it's a standard procedure when we go through conditions on any discretionary permit where there's construction involved, is we will put in mitigations to restrict the noise abatement.
Okay, we'll put that down for discussion, this hours of operation or
Okay.
anything else. Okay, then let's go into comments. Commissioners, final comments for tonight?
I would like, as chair of the Historic Resources Board, to see a draft agenda of the Historic Resource meeting, or to know if it's canceled. And David and I attended a conference at Capitola, was it last week or the week before?
The workshop?
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was put on by the State Office of Historic Preservation. It was a day-long event and covered a lot of information, and
Yeah, very
we
good.
got a lot out of it, so. And it was free.
Can't beat that.
Wished I could have gone.
Yeah, well, you're a
I
working
really
guy.
wished I could have gone.
How you doing?
I'm outstanding, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my question was, is there any way to get, look at a draft agenda or get any of the information?
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Oh, this is, you said comments.
Okay, we're still on, okay, that's, yeah, okay. As long as there's no action to be done.
No.
Okay.
Mine's
Because
just
it
the
could lead to
approval.
an item being put on the agenda if you want. That we can.
We can, I mean, if that's where it needs to lead, then we can certainly do that. My question was just, is there any way to get the agendas in this packet and information sooner than 72 hours before the meetings? I know the city council gets theirs about a week ahead of time. It's just sometimes this stuff is hard to digest in, if I'm gone for a weekend and I don't
Right,
see this until
right,
Monday, it's just
yeah.
hard to digest in a day. Huh?
You got our back.
I'm trying.
Well, we got your back.
I know, I like to be informed and research, so, so that would just be a request. I don't know whether that needs to be a discussion item. I understand that the plates
Sound
are
like a
full.
discussion item?
Roger writes most of the staff reports. He's the one that cranks out most of the work that you have there. I just put the packet together. I could do it a week before, I could do it a night before.
Just when it's ready.
It's a matter of staff time.
Understood. You know, I want to be very respectful of the staff's time. I know that there's a lot going on. It just
seems like they're not doing anything.
it's,
So the question might be if we could get it sooner.
if we can get it sooner, and that way if there's omissions that we see in the agenda, then we can make the change and still have it hit the 72-hour notifications.
Well, an agenda, though, we have made the effort that definitely the chairman see it. If there's anything else that you, in the past, you've had.
In the past,
There
yeah.
was no agenda, you never saw it. So, but the chairman, Ernie looks at it. We try to get him in the offices, put it that way, several days in advance.
I barely made it today.
He
But what happens is it's a tradition that I've always met with the chairman of the bodies that I've worked for. You go over the agenda so that they're not blindsided with something. Wait a minute, where'd this come from?
Right.
And, just to know. And whoever the chairman is of this commission should do that, I think. Are we talking too much about this? It's a report, a comment. And so that's what I've always done. Occasionally, I'll find something that's missing, bring it up, just so we don't have to have, the last minute votes on it.
Yeah.
But again, the key items are set. There's a public hearing. Staff has to put the notice out, put 10 days or something early.
72 hours in advance, the notice goes out.
Right.
But how about a public
Of course,
hearing?
it's on Friday for a Tuesday meeting.
Sure.
I couldn't do it Monday because Tuesday's
Right.
Wednesday.
But you got public hearings, don't they take a 10-day notice?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
public hearings.
Yeah, see, so that's something already coming up. There's a whole bunch of stuff to it. But I feel that, if there's something that you want on that agenda, you don't have to go through the chairman. Just send it in to staff. If they feel it's something the chairman should know, fine.
Okay.
Other than that, I'll pick it up when we come into it. Maybe there's something I can add to it, or.
Okay.
But yeah, don't hesitate to just call staff, say, look, I'd like this item on the agenda.
Okay.
Well, I did that last week, or maybe it was the week before. And if you're not around, I don't know, who should I copy? Does Connie?
The one on Streetscape?
Mhm.
Yeah. Dropped the ball on that. So-
Well, I
And one of the
understand.
reasons was that was on the HRB agenda, but when you
And
sent
then we
me a
didn't-
message, you said HRB
Okay.
/PC, so I was, there were.
She guessed wrong.
There wasn't any projects to put on the HRB.
Okay, yeah.
That we were bringing. to
Yeah,
them.
so the subject heading should be more precise. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the procedures down.
I'm too.
Unfortunately, I'm a new kid in the block, so I'm just
We're all
trying to make
still
sure that
learning.
We can't hold that against you.
You might want to,
We're
though.
trying to make you feel comfortable.
And then the only other thing is, we did have our little Camaro Club rally, and it was way cool.
Looked like it was very fun, and it was a great thing for the community, to bring people into
Yeah.
town, to have them eat here, and,
It wasn't easy getting us all on the road in line. I mean, that literally took us like 30 miles to finally get everybody over Santa Cruz and into Watsonville all in one line, but had a blast. And if anybody's interested, I did bring the picture. We had 17 of them lined up in front of the soccer field. So I brought the picture that we were able to take of that.
Neat enough. Okay. Commissioner, oh, you got, okay.
are you sure?
City manager? City planner? Chair entertains the motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Favor?
Aye.
Bye.
You don't have a vote, that'll be a consensus. That's a loud consensus.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and speaking.
Yes, thank you for bearing with us. Always glad to hear.